On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will break down the latest episode of the AHSOKA series while pre-gaming with fans for the 4th episode and its inevitable Force user showdowns. After the breakdown fest, the two will cover 3 new juicy revelations for the AHSOKA series given to them by their very own Fulcrum. They'll also touch on the uncertain future of announced Star Wars shows thanks to the ongoing Hollywood strikes, and you may get a little Starfield review as well. Of course, the show will end with the question of the week responses and the latest round of top high Star Wars fan honest features. Punch it, Chewie. Here we go. I screwed up. I look at that. That was a quick transition, but I still blew the opening. It should be a hey now. Look at that. We're only 4 minutes late today. You guys should send us some money, okay?
4 minutes late is basically on time.
Exactly. I mean, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Nick? We did 30 minutes of a show without even broadcasting it.
Yeah.
This week,
it was an exclusive.
4 minutes late. So I like what you're saying. You definitely, you owe us. This is bonus content at this point in time. But we're back! Woohoo! It's another AHSOKA breakdown pregame party with the SWTS, Matt and Nick, letting you know what you need to know and then previewing what you should know. That's kind of how we're doing AHSOKA this go around, my friend, because Disney finally is like, you know what? There's a lot of people that live in America. Why are we releasing our new content at midnight or 3 a.m. for the East Coast? You know, let's do what most people do. HBO's been doing it still with their streaming shows. It's a novel idea. Let's release stuff during prime time, just like when humans used to watch TV together. Mm-hmm. So I like it. I like that we get to do a little pregame here as we kind of wrap the following week. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be, going through that short but sweet episode 3. We're going to be teeing up what you're going to see tonight or tomorrow, depending on where you live. And then we're going to go over a few scoops we got from our very own Fulcrum out there in the world. That's right. We got some exclusives. BMAD, I believe we have a donation button in the description of these videos. I have no clue if that even works or if we'll get sued by YouTube for having that. But yeah, that's really the only begging we do. It's a passive link out there. We don't ever content gate shit. We probably should, because I've seen everyone, their mom do it, and it makes them seem more popular than they are. But hey, fuck it. Too much work. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we got some exclusives coming at you. Some are probably going to upset you. Some you're going to tell us we're stupid, and I'm going to agree with you on one of them for sure. I felt stupid putting it out there, but like I said, Fulcrum said so. And then something we all kind of knew coming down the pipe. I know Nick did, but it's looking like we're not going to be watching new Star Wars for quite some time, thanks to the Hollywood strike. A report came out this week. It's doom and gloom for Star Wars TV, even the shows that are in the can. And that is, we're talking about Skeleton Crew in particular, but it's probably just going to domino effect all the content we thought would be coming out. So Nick and I are going to be struggling the next year and a half, it's sounding like, but we'll get there in due time. So let's get down to it, my friend. I do want to take a quick detour, even though it's still sci-fi space related, but I did get my hands on Starfield last week. I'm Xbox Game Pass. They offered this deal, which again, I'm a sucker. They're like, hey, if you pay $31, you can play Starfield 5 days early. And I'm going, hey, I got nothing to do. My fucking arm's broke. It's not like I'm going to go out and have a crazy Labor Day outside. The climate was shitty where I was at, so it wasn't even fun if you could go outside. So I was like, you know what? Bethesda, huge fan of Skyrim, huge fan of Fallout 3. Let's do it, right? It's essentially those games in space, fired it up, and I'm happy to say, my friend, it is. It's exactly that. It is Skyrim or Fallout in space. It's got that tried and true Bethesda feel, which may or may not be good for some of you, because it really doesn't break new ground. I'll tell you that. It feels like a Bethesda game, which to some people, that pedigree alone is enough. I mean, I believe Nick has spent probably over 100 hours in a Bethesda game at some point in time.
Oh, yeah.
I have between Skyrim and Fallout 3 easily. And I'm getting there on Starfield, but it's don't expect anything groundbreaking from Bethesda. It's pretty much exactly who they are. Which
it interests me for sure. I haven't picked it up yet. I may at some point, but I'm still just into the Baldur's Gate 3 world. That's probably gonna take up at least another month of my time in terms of gaming, if not more, depending on how, if I start another playthrough, if I start a multiplayer playthrough or something like that. But yeah, I saw a lot of the early reviews around it, and there's a lot of bickering out there in the video game community about this game, funny enough. And it's like, it seems like there are a lot of big outlets like IGN and GameSpot that are giving the game like a pretty middling review, like 7 out of 10 kind of scores. And then people are chiming in like, oh, well, if that's how you feel, then you don't know how Bethesda games are and stuff like that. And it's just one of those things where Bethesda games have always been janky. Like they've always been fucked up, and like they are never to a polish of certain other studios games. Like, when you hit somebody with a club in Skyrim and they shoot 500 feet in the air, like that's just Bethesda.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any glitchy shit. I'm just telling you, like it. And I mean, did you find the main story in Skyrim or Fallout to be compelling? Not really. There really isn't a cohesive main story for the most part. And
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like for those games, I think like with Skyrim, you could have, like, if you just played the game through its main storyline, you could have finished it in like less than 10 hours, I believe.
I've read about 10 to 12 if you just go balls deep into the main.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were never like story focused experiences. No. It was always more around like your exploration and how you wanted to like make your experience in the game. It is kind of disconcerting when they say like a lot of the planets that you go to are really drab and dull, or like, the fast travel, like the most that I've seen is around like the actual space travel / fast travel system. People seem to not like that, or it doesn't function as they thought it would. I think all these
people are stupid. I mean, I've played the game probably 10 hours in, so I can tell you straight up, if they can't figure out the fast travel, they probably shouldn't be playing video games first and foremost. It's literally you hit start, set course. You could be like on a ground, like in a city, and fast travel to another galaxy in 2 button presses. So that's pretty simple to me. But I don't know. Listen, I dig it. It's fucking, you have a spaceship. You can do whatever you want. You can fly around space, fucking shoot people, steal their ships, pirate their ships, help them, join a faction, join a crazy religion that worships snakes. It's what I need. And I get Nick staying with BG3. That game's too big for me. It was like too big and too loose. At least with this game, I'm still getting, here's a quest, here's where you have to go to do it. Here's a quest, here's where. BG3, that's too RPG for me. So I played the early access of Baldur's Gate 3 as well, so I had time in that game before it like came to full release. But my Steam hours recorded on this game, including my pre-release play, 120 hours. Like, holy shit! No wonder you have no interest in Starfield. Well, good for you.
No. I mean,
I love when a game does that to me.
Yeah, like I DM our Star Wars D&D. I DM a home game. I'm a very big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, and this is one of the best adaptations that I've played.
Are you all just on your rig, or do you play it on the Steam Deck at all?
So far, I have not played it on the Steam Deck, but I do have it downloaded on there. But yeah, I mean, like I'm in Act 3 in my first playthrough, in like my initial character build playthrough where I was playing a Circle of the Moon druid. I started up a second game where it's on basically hard mode, which is tactician mode in Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm playing through the Dark Urge preset. So like when you go to create your character, you can like do a completely custom character, and when you do a completely custom character, there's really no story around your character. It's just like the story of the world and the story of your companions around you. When you pick the Dark Urge preset, which allows you to still like fully customize your character and class and stuff, there is a storyline around your character. And if you've played any of the other Baldur's Gate games, it's similar. It's like it definitely piggybacks off of the story of your character from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. So I have that playthrough that I just started that I'm still in Act 1. I have my primary playthrough that I'm going through right now that I'm in Act 3. So, and then, you know, who knows? Like there's a ton of different classes to play, a ton of different, you know, ways to play the game. You could choose to play the game evil, and I haven't done that yet. So I'm definitely going to be sinking some more time into Baldur's Gate.
Maybe I'll be there one day with Starfield, but I'm digging it a little more up my alley than Baldur's Gate. Although I got it on the deck. I'm not forgetting it, but I do hope Starfield at least takes me into the holidays. It feels like it could be one of those games. I don't think I'm going to go explore all 1,000 planets they created, because Nick is right. I mean, you can land on a planet and shit will procedurally generate in terms of like a dungeon or a fucking outpost you have to go blow up. But they all do kind of look like a desert. Not that I mean, who gives a shit? In space, honestly, that's probably what most planets look like. So it's all right. But digging it so far, I think you will enjoy it if you are a fan of Bethesda's sauce and how they do things. It's pretty much spot on there. I wouldn't even say it even looks that impressive, and I'm not mad. I don't really care. Like the whole graphics thing to me kind of died way back in the fucking 16 to 32-bit era. It's like graphics aren't what drive my passion for gaming anymore. As a kid, yes, when I started in fucking dot matrix bit gaming, I wanted better graphics than 8-bit or 16-bit. But once we got to, what do you say, Nick, like Xbox 360 era or so, it's like who honestly cares if water looks that fucking real or light rays look that real? Just give me a fucking game that's fun.
Yeah, I think that like it was kind of the PS3, Xbox 360 gen that really kind of, even if you look at like the jumps between like late era like PS3, Xbox 360 games and late era PS4, Xbox One games, like there's some difference in like fidelity, but it's not like looking at a PS2 game versus a PS3 game. Like that was definitely like the biggest generational jump in terms of visual fidelity for gaming in a while. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to a place where there's a bigger jump than that, because at this point, it's just like all of the jumps are just basically like resolution increase. Right. You can now play in 8K.
Because they still have yet to make video game characters that look super realistic feel human-like. It's very similar to what we still get the uncanny valley in our Star Wars when they're, de-aging people or whatnot. So we're almost there, but there you go. There's your gaming tips with Matt and Nick to kick things off here. But we, like I said, we kept it sci-fi. So hold on, AHSOKA people. We are coming. That's right. Let's do it, man. As we did last week, we have an episode to break down, put to bed, and then we'll kind of set you up for tonight and what to expect. Although it shouldn't be that hard if you had paid attention to the trailers and you kind of see all the footage that has been aired already. What we have remaining isn't much. In fact, I think pretty much it's going to be most of this episode. But before that, Nick, let's go ahead and get into episode 3, titled Time to Fly. Very aptly named, I might say. But if you are new here, we typically both give our opinions of it, our little review, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty, the top moments, the references, any moments that might have come across my tiny brain when I was checking it out last Tuesday night. Hopefully for Nick to fill in the gaps or at least get a crazy tangent going. So, Nick, I know it's fresh in your mind. I am a gentleman. I always let you go first. So what did you think of Time to Fly?
It was definitely a setup episode, as you know, for what's to come in the very near future. So not a ton of action. You know, we had some good dog fighting that was in there. I think the biggest thing for me in this particular episode was that Sabine felt a lot more like Sabine from Rebels than she did in the first two. So I like the way that her character is progressing, and I like how, you know, maybe it was the writing, maybe it was the directing. I don't know. I mean, Steph Green directed this one, and she also directed episode 2, so it was probably not on the directing side of things. But, you know, I think that, like, Sabine definitely feels more like Rebels era Sabine. Ahsoka, you know, whether it be the way that they have written the character or the way that they're choosing to direct Rosario to play the character, still feels very stiff and wooden to me. There was like one moment in the episode that like felt like old Ahsoka, that felt like Clone Wars Rebels Ahsoka, and that was during the dogfight, like after you know, after Hu Yang goes down, and like they're both kind of in a panic, and everything around like that was going on there. I feel like there was some like emotion that came out that did feel like Ahsoka. So I'm a huge fan of the way that Sabine is progressing. Ahsoka, on the other hand, still waiting to see if we can get back to something that feels a little bit more familiar to her character, because I think that is the one thing for me that's still kind of sticking out in the series so far.
Yeah, you know, you and I, we talked earlier about that, and kind of the same opinion on Ahsoka. She just seems a bit too sage, a bit too wise. I don't know if it's humility or what, but and listen, I'm not dumb. I know this isn't Snips. I know she's not a teenager, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old. I mean, she's in her 40s for what we've calculated with our Star Wars math before. So, you know, naturally she's not going to be bouncing around and wisecracking. But Nick's right. It seems Dave, whoever, has just said, listen, Ahsoka she's the master now. There's no room for emotion. She's got to be stoic as fuck, arms crossed all the time. And like I said, the whole arm cross thing is a horrible posture for humans, yeah. Aliens, anyone. I mean, I had to like almost beat it into my daughter's head this summer. If I see you with your arms crossed on the fucking soccer field, you're in deep shit. Okay? You wanted to do this, not your parents. We signed you up. You have to commit through the end of the season. And you're not going to fucking sit there with your arms folded like you could be doing something better. Right, Nick? I mean, that's what it gives off. If someone's arms are crossed, it's usually, I've checked the fuck out. I'm too good for this. I'm not paying attention. I don't really care. But yeah. It was bad. Like, yeah. You know, I think the training segment felt a little more Ahsoka. A little personality came out there at the beginning, and then obviously when she got out and did the Clone Wars action-y type of stunt on the T6, that channeled her badassness a bit. But yeah, I'm with you. But overall, I short and sweet. It definitely felt like I was telling Nick that the opening could have been the end of episode 2, and then the halfway point, like the full ship battle, could have been the beginning of episode 3. It didn't really feel like it needed to be a standalone episode. So I don't know if that's pacing that Disney forces on them, or like, hey, we got to hit the 8 episodes because that's what we do. But it wasn't even edited poorly. It just felt like parts of different episodes and not really its own thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a lot of jumping around just in terms of like the content that was being covered. Like we found out a little bit more about the Eye of Sion, and it is like it is what we said it was. It was a hyperspace ring. You know, we did check in with the New Republic, and get their essentially their thoughts on how things are going, and a little bit more bopping around there, obviously with Sabine's training and stuff like that. So, I would say that there was a little bit of like scattered kind of feel to this one. But I think that we've gotten good information about, where we're going. I think we are seeing progression in terms of Sabine's character growth, both in terms of like her Jedi training and also just kind of like feeling more comfortable in her own skin, perhaps.
Yeah, it was good. It was good Star Wars storytelling. It just, for live action to be the same length as animated, it just like, come on. I mean, I finally made it to Foundation Season 2, and these cocksuckers can make 52-minute episodes for a full season. Like, why can't we do this, Star Wars? Why can't we get back to even the 42 minutes with commercials? Sub 30 minutes, just, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm bitching. I sound like a little fuck right now, but it just, come on. We like it. It's good content. But just as we were kind of getting somewhere, it's fade to black. Have fun next week. You're going to get the full, lightsaber battles between Shin and Sabine, between Ahsoka and Baylan. All that seems to be what's going to happen this week. But overall, slick episode. Probably could have been portioned out into other content, though. Hold on. Yeah, Devin, I'll tell you right now, I think Foundation is one of the greatest science fiction things ever put out there. If you know anything about the material it's based on, it's essentially the foundation for Star Wars. It's from Isaac Asimov, one of George's heroes. And literally, it talks about a galactic empire. And there's Trantor is essentially Coruscant. I mean, George more or less ripped off a lot of concepts from Foundation. So yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, I think you'll appreciate Foundation. Plus Lee Pace basically is naked the entire time. If you're into, good looking dudes, it's got a great story, and it covers centuries of time. I'll just tell you this, no spoilers. Season 2 is picking up 138 years after the end of season 1. So that I love that type of narrative. The world building, the lore is off the charts, but it's based on what's considered some of the greatest science fiction of all time, Isaac Asimov's 5-book Foundation series. So yes, check it out. Okay, free plug there. I'll make sure to get David S. Goyer to send us a check next week. Yeah, so hey, we dug it. Now let's get in, kind of pick it apart and see if we could kind of decipher any hidden meaning or where things may be going. So, you know what? I think based on the way I have these screenshots up, let's just go ahead and do references and eggs, starting with, and I'll be interested in kind of what you felt. Devin, I will tell you, sorry, people, Foundation Season 1, you got to give it 1 or 2, 3 episodes because there's a lot of setup. Like I said, they're essentially setting up an entire galaxy and hundreds of years of history. So it really starts to kick in like 3, 4. You kind of see where things are going, but season 2 already, I'm digging it. I know 1/6 Shooter was a big fan too. So, okay, back to Ahsoka. Let's go. Star Wars focus. Here we go. All right, Nick, I don't know about you, but the opening training montage definitely reminded me of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker on the Millennium Falcon. We had blinders. The only thing different, and they were there, but she didn't choose to use them. There was no training remotes. So instead of real lightsabers, she was using, and this to me was another worthwhile reference, but Boken sticks, which are actually used in Kenjutsu by real people. So all this was rooted in reality. I mean, hell, Nick, Zatoichi is the blind samurai, like from our world. When Ahsoka's like, "Hey, should we try some Zatoichi?" And that is the blind samurai. I believe it's a pretty prominent novel from way back in the day, and we know obviously how much George kind of appreciated the samurai culture and applied it to Star Wars, in particular the Jedi Order.
Yeah. I mean, he was a huge fan of that. I was semi expecting her to break out the training.
Yeah, they're all
remotes
sitting there. I mean, it's like,
showed,
shit. Let's start zapping this motherfucker.
Like she pulls out the helmet, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, "Where's the training remote? Are you gonna get the training remote?" But didn't come out. But I do think that this was probably a more gentle introduction into that style of training. Luke wasn't necessarily taking the slow route.
He was just like Grogu. He was getting zapped right away. Like, I mean, both Grogu, I think he avoided getting hit, but Luke definitely took one to the leg.
Oh yeah, he took some hits there too. So it was really fun to see that dynamic break out. Like, but what's really interesting to me is like Ahsoka's always said like, I'm not a Jedi, I'm no longer a Jedi, I'm not a Jedi. But she, like we were saying earlier, she is acting a lot like a Jedi. Like, just in terms of her general demeanor, like extremely stoic, almost like, wouldn't in certain circumstances, even talking to her close friends. The training that she is putting Sabine through, very similar to Jedi training. And I know that it's the only thing that she knows, because that's what she was raised with. That's how she learned.
Yang was literally going through the Jedi shit before. Like she was essentially doing virtual Jedi training with Hu Yang. How about that guy, by the way? Is he not the all-star of this show? Like, he is the comedy.
He fucking kills it, dude. Like, every time. I love when they're going through the dogfight. The ship
closer,
gets
just a little closer.
Just keep going, keep going. And then, like, he loses power. They go through this whole dogfight, make it out alive, and then he comes back. I guess my backup battery took too long to reboot. Like, I loved that character is definitely the highlight of the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka so far. I'm not angry at that because I'm glad that there is a character that is bringing some
personality. I mean, let's be real.
Personality.
Hu Yang has the most personality out of the good guys at this point in time.
100%.
Especially on that T6 as of right now, where it's just Sabine, Ahsoka, and Hu Yang. It's not even close. Like, Hu Yang feels more like a human than they do.
Yeah. I mean, he is an all-star of a character right now.
I mean, he cut Sabine down again. He's like, yeah, you're pretty shitty. You're the worst. You suck.
It was great because she, like, Sabine is telling Ahsoka, like, well, yeah, Hu Yang just told me that I was the worst Jedi to ever come to him. And he's like, you are. It's like, he's like, what do you want me to say? It's like, do you want me to lie to you? You are the worst. You're not good. You would have never made it into the temple. Like,
he really is. Like,
he doesn't give a fuck.
I know last week, I mean, I was essentially pleasuring myself to Chopper and his amazing moments, but Hu Yang he's getting thrust into that conversation of best Star Wars droids overall, for sure. I mean, he's having a breakout performance in live action. I'll leave it at that.
100.
I do not remember this character being this kind of snarky in Clone Wars, is what I'm saying. Like,
dude, I'm gonna tell you, like, he was an afterthought to me. Like, it's like, you were introduced, like, you saw that he was the training the younglings,
help them build their lightsaber and all that shit. Yeah,
and it was like, okay, that's cool. They have like a droid that's doing all this stuff, and he had like a few small scenes, but it wasn't anything that like made me truly remember him or like had him stick out in the series at all. But man, like, Filoni really decided, like, this is my guy. And he really brought him to life in a
David Tennant, the voice is just, it's perfect because he hits that snarkiness and the tone you need to kind of deliver what are relatively dry lines, but in a way that the audience is like, ooh, another burn from Hu Yang.
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff there. But yeah, I mean,
shit.
Good overall. Like, yeah, I mean, episode was okay. Obviously not as good as 1 and 2. There were some good things that were touched on and good things that were brought to light. I do, and we'll get to them in the breakdown. So when we come to those, I'll give my thoughts. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a setup episode for what is probably to come next.
Dude, I have a feeling my internet's going to go out. So hopefully that's not the case, but shit's getting funky. Like, Skype keeps saying, hey, people probably can't hear you. Shit keeps going, like, ding, 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 like cutting in and out.
Yeah. My Skype said that.
Okay, maybe it's just a new.
Perhaps people can't hear you.
Maybe it's a new feature. So fuck off, Skype. We're hearing just fine. We got Star Wars buddies fighting in the chat here. If you ever want to join the live stream, make sure to hit youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show 5 p. East on Tuesdays.
Come in, argue with your friends.
Devin and Props here. They're trying to claim their faves from the show. Devin is Team Shin. Props going Team Sabine. That is definitely a mano y mano type of fight, because clearly in the show these two are being set up as foils. So it looks like these two can't be friends anymore, and they're going to have to go beat the shit out of each other in a parking lot.
They're going to have to duel each other for supremacy of their chosen characters. But yeah, I mean, Shin, I'm waiting on Shin, you know, because we had some.
She's a little sass, huh? She's throwing a little shade at Morgan this episode, like, oh, hey, I thought you were going to take him out. And Morgan's like, well, hey, I thought you would take him out before you got here, you little bitch. So I like what I'm seeing of Shin so far. Obviously, everybody has attachments to Sabine from her previous work in Rebels and stuff like that. Right? Yeah, but I'm Team Hu Yang 100%. Right, excellent.
That's it. That's my team.
Okay, so moving along with references and familiar faces. Obviously, I did like the scene with Hera meeting with the Chancellor and the senators, but my God, I forgot how big of a fucking cocksucker Hamato Ziono was. Like, I mean, you have to wonder, if you ever watch Star Wars Resistance, his son was Kaz, kind of the lead of that series. But Kaz was in the New Republic Navy. And after seeing this scene, Nick, at least as a fan, we can kind of hopefully cook this up and pretend this is right. But after she burns his ass by calling him a little bitch, I feel like he's like, you know what? She had a point. I'm going to force my son into the New Republic Army when he's old enough. So she can't, you know, slap him down like she just did to me.
It was definitely an interesting addition to that council.
What a dick. I mean, just such a dick. Yeah. And now it's people like him why the New Republic failed so hard.
Yeah, because it's like you come, like basically exactly what Hera said. It's like you come into the New Republic, you have no stake in our game at all because you didn't know, you weren't there when we were struggling. And yeah, you just like sat there, waited to see which side won. So like Hera just fucking smacked him. I wonder, what I'm interested to see is like, will he have involvement beyond this one little exchange? Or if this was like purely thrown in there for people who did watch Resistance to be like, hey, look, here's this character that you know from Resistance.
That's a good question. I honestly think he will be involved more in the Mandoverse timeline, especially the movie, but probably no more this season.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he and this was one of my points. I want to talk to you about it, but he more or less handled Chancellor Mothma like she has zero power. I mean, he more or less with the others beat her into, no, this is what we are going to do as senators. We don't give a fuck about you, Chancellor. You're a nobody. So I literally wrote down, Mon Mothma is powerless in the New Republic as its chancellor. Like, she has lost all of her authority. She did fucking fight in the war. Maybe not on the battlefield, but as we're seeing through Andor, she's on the fucking front lines of the political side of it. And now here she is, achieved their goal, and she is literally can't help out a friend. I mean, her and Hera have been working together since Star Wars Rebels. It's been one of her generals since the dawn of the rebellion, and she more or less has to say, like, hey, tough shit, these guys are right, I have no power, you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting the way that, I mean, here's, even in the rebellion, like, Mon Mothma did not command a lot of power, I would say. Like, she was always one to, like, kind of be the soft-spoken leader in the back, step forward when like it was time to rally the troops and really, like, you know, take center stage in that effect. But she never did have that air of like, people around me respect me enough to not step on me. Like, even from what we've seen in Andor so far, she's treated as essentially a second-class citizen by Luthen. Like, Luthen's like, look, do what I tell you or just get out of my way. Like, you know, you're supposed to be here to help us build this rebellion, and you're starting to get cold feet because what, your husband is like in a weird spot?
Andor Mothma is definitely not fully realized rebel leader yet. I mean, I would say by the time she announces herself in Star Wars Rebels, I think she's a different person than who we're seeing in Andor. But Nick, I also think now she's a different person as a chancellor. She really feels like even if she was like, no, we're doing this, those senators would be like, no, we're not. Fuck you. We don't care what you did for us. You're just essentially a figurehead at this point.
Exactly. It almost feels like the title is weighing on her, and she's almost looking. It almost seems like she is looking back at how Palpatine came to power through the chancellorhood, and was like, he just, anytime he had the opportunity to reach for power, yeah, he would grab. Or like if he was put in a position to where senators disagreed with him, he would still push through his own agenda. So it's almost like she's being very passive.
That's a good point.
In this new position because of how Palpatine essentially wrested power from the entire government. So she's like, well, I don't want to be that type of leader, so I will just be the, the kind of humble, meek person who's just listens to what the people around her want to do.
You heard it in this meeting. The New Republic is so fucking fragile that she probably is scared to upset any system out of fear of, another rebellion, open war. I mean, even these senators are like, yeah, we got fucking Imperials throughout every level of the New Republic government. And you just go, well, I wonder how you guys got taken over again. You fucking idiots.
Yeah, it's like, this is the second time that we've seen these, these refugees from the Imperial government betray the New Republic.
They still don't change anything. Like Hera's like, yeah, I don't think long live the Empire. I forget the exact line, but Hera's essentially going like, hey, idiots, just because they signed a pledge doesn't mean jack fucking shit in their heart and soul. Yeah. They still love the goddamn Empire, and they're going to make sure it comes back, and they do.
Yeah, so it's a lot of flaws.
It's a shame. Like Mothma,
definitely already
she's just showing. She is a shell of OT era Mothma. She's a nothing. She literally is a figurehead. It's disappointing. But it makes sense, right?
Really
it makes sense. This is why the New Republic wasn't around for more than 10, 15 years, if that.
Yeah, I mean, because if you come in here and you show that the New Republic is like strong and is, listening to its people, listening to its longstanding generals, like Hera, longstanding general, Carson Teva, a very from the time of the rebellion. Right. Into the New Republic, he goes and says like, we need to do something about this, completely ignored, so they're doing a good job of showing the weakness of the New Republic so far, and specifically through its leadership, which is obviously where the breakdown always happens, is through leadership. But it is kind of sad to see that Mothma is the one that's essentially in that position of like, you are the reason why, or one of the primary reasons why this government failed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you don't know, and this is already established in canon and like in the comic books and stuff, the First Order was a subsection of the New Republic government. They had seats in the Senate. It wasn't like the First Order rose out of obscurity or nothingness. Like they were a part of the New Republic Senate that was not put down because the New Republic leadership was too weak to be able to say like, this is the type of dissident that we cannot allow. We're seeing it.
They let everyone get away with what they did under the Empire, as long as you signed the pledge or went to one of those reconditioning centers. Hey, you're good to go. You're good to go. You could be fucking the next chancellor if you were Palpatine's right-hand man. I'm waiting for Mas Amedda to fucking show up in the Senate again. Like, oh yeah, he said he's sorry. So we're going to take him back. Even though he literally did.
Look, this is his signature.
He was literally Palpatine's fucking axe in the Senate. Like anything that shitty went down in the Senate when it was still around, it was Palpatine via Mas Amedda. Just go read the comics. I mean, he is the killer. He is the fucking the hand of Palpatine. And these people essentially invited all them right back into positions of power. It's absolutely insane. And, Hera's like, Corellia, like, come on, let's do something about it. No, everyone can change. Everything's good. I mean, this is what you get when you go a little too far to the left, right? When all you want to do is fucking play patty cakes all the time. this is what happens, okay? And it's a shame because, Nick, we are watching this lady risk her life, her family, her position, everything in Andor, yet by now she doesn't want to risk anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, it's that thing of when you strive to get something for so long, you know, like from the moment that the Republic fell at the end of episode 3, all the way up until the moment that the Empire fell at the end of episode 6, like that has been her primary goal. And it's almost like when you want something for years and you finally get it and you're like, oh shit, like, what do I do now? I have the one thing that I got, but now I've never thought about what to do after I get it. And it's almost like she's in this state of like confusion because she never thought it would happen. And then also just like decision paralysis because she now has exactly what she wanted and she doesn't want to make any wrong decision to mess it up. So she's just not making any decisions at all. She's just letting the people around her say what they want to do. Fucking and then just do it.
What a dick. Like, what a jerk. That, I mean, I'm going to talk about it more once we get to top moments, but I'm glad Hera kind of took him to task. All right, so, you know, we're in this scene, and you could tell when she name drops Jason how close her and Hera are. I mean, it's not like the other senators gave two shits about Hera. It's almost... You could tell there was like a little pre-moment before this. You could tell Hera does not have a great relationship with Xiono at all, and really not the Senate in particular. But her and Mon, you could tell that connection is there. Yet Mon, being Mon, is still like, hey, let's keep the peace. Who cares? We're never going to fight another war because that's realistic. Like, I don't understand this. And hey, it happens in our own life. I can tell you right now, if you've ever gone to school and read real history, which probably isn't going to be a thing anymore in this country, isolationism is not good when war is taking place around the world, okay? It's not good. Yeah. Like, you know, hey, God bless the U.S., but we kind of dragged our foot in both world wars for many years and allowed a lot of shit to go down. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are itchy about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now, but you can't just let that shit stand. You can't. And we're getting it in Star Wars. You cannot just be all pacifist and think and bury your head and think that the rest of the world or the galaxy is going to fall in line and all of a sudden start singing Kumbaya together. So it's insane that none of these New Republic leaders, who were all former rebellion leaders, understand this, but the generals and the people that actually fought the battles.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially in the Star Wars galaxy, like, what is the longest time that there was not a war or like active oppression going on?
High Republic right? All the way to the fall of the Galactic Republic. Yep. Yeah.
So you would say what, like 200? Oh, dude, 300
probably even
years
more than that. If they're telling us, I think, I believe the truth, and I have no clue because fuck books, but I believe, and someone can correct us, that
it was 200
I thought it was 400 is like the beginning of the High Republic, and then the Acolyte is going to be like 80. It's the very tail end, 80 years before TPM.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like, I guess that's like it's a decent run for like galactic stability and politics and stuff like that. But even during that time, it wasn't like conflict free.
Well, yeah, they had the Nihil to deal with out in the Outer Rim, but there's no like global open war, I guess, during that era.
Yeah. So I think that especially after the time period that had just passed with the war against the Empire, the forming of the rebellion and everything after that, you should be a little bit more, I guess you would say, like a little bit more on alert, heightened security. I mean, this is a fresh government, and there are like, and it's a fresh government, and they know that there are still dissidents out there because in the first 2 episodes, Mon Mothma said that she is aware of it, that there are remnant Imperials out there, that there are warlords out there still but the
But
only
Nick,
thing that you
there's
had to
no-
say against it was there was no
Right, there's
organization. There was no
there's
leader.
no grand admiral to tie them all together. It's like, oh, well, that makes
But
sense.
still.
Yeah, let's just let all these random war machines fester because they don't have a voice to bring them together. Yeah, that another great idea there. Good job, New Republic. I guess having if we think about it, you had 3 years of the Clone Wars. And then open rebellion, you would say essentially started a year into the Empire's reign, but it wasn't necessarily a war. The actual rebellion, you could argue, really only took place from a year before the Battle of Yavin through Return of the Jedi, right? I mean, outside of that, it was just, it was rebel activity. It wasn't open war. So yeah, they're a bunch of pussies. But hey, isolationism, that's for like back to when you didn't have boats and planes. All right, that's gone, both real life and in Star Wars. You always got to be ready to fucking roll because sadly, humans, fake and real, just can't coexist for whatever reason. We can't do it. We're never going to be able to do it. I don't care what any of you motherfuckers say. It's never going to happen. We will burn this fucker to the ground. Okay. That's how we're going to go out. Just like the First Order blasting the Hosnian system for being stupid and allowing Imperials into their ranks. All right, that's how you get Hux there having a seizure on Starkiller Blaze. Okay. Yep, Mon is a wuss. It's sad. I still love her though. She's sexy. She's got that red hair. Real quick, Nick, sticking with this scene. Another reference that was worth talking about. But I love that they gave Hera time to kind of go in and recap Thrawn and Rebels. And that's what she did. She's like, hey, we fought him. I fought him. And, talking about Ezra and this, that, and the other thing. So it was nice to kind of get that Rebels reminder for those that might not have been Rebels watchers. Like this lady was the first one to tussle with Thrawn. And her outfit, her cell, Phoenix Squadron, they were ultimately the one with Ezra to, banish him from the known galaxy. But even that didn't matter to the senators because, they're the elite, as you will, the same type of people we have in our society.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really argue against them too when they're like, well, where is he? Like, he's dead. They truly believe that he's dead. And it's also like, if you look at it from just like a general populist perspective outside of the Phoenix Squadron themselves and the people that were closest to it, you really don't have a reason to believe that he is alive. Like aside from like potentially picking up chatter, like if they have been picking up chatter, I don't know how much like, spycraft or investigation.
Probably none, Nick, because that would be too invasive. That would be too warlike, right?
Yeah,
that'd be mean.
Yeah, if they had been
breaking
doing
my First Amendment rights,
like,
Mothma,
spy work into the Remnant Empire, they would hear the chatter of Thrawn. But it seems like they don't even hear that chatter. It seems like they're completely unaware of the fact that people like Morgan Elsbeth.
Bro, they're mostly unaware of Moff Gideon if it weren't for a fucking random Mandalorian named Din Djarin or Djarin Din. They are so incompetent, but I don't know why it's so surprising. I mean, we all know what happens, and I guess, hey, here we are. It makes complete sense now how that janky-ass First Order could rise.
Which is so fucking crazy to me. It's like with incompetence at this level, this early on in this government, it's surprising that it lasted as long as it did. It made it like 20 years, right? It lasted like 2 decades because Rey was born after the fall of the Empire. I believe she was 19 years old.
Easy, man. I mean, Rey's a baby. Yeah. I mean, at that point, the New Republic might have started to move to the Hosnian system and almost break apart.
Yeah, so like, you're talking 30, but it's probably been around 30 years because that's how old
if my memory serves me well, like before we had the Mandoverse and all that shit, I believe they said the sequel trilogy, at least TFA, is taking place 39 years. Yeah.
39 years? I thought it was more.
38 to 39 years past Jedi.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the New Republic was well established, but hell, I mean by the time it was probably by the time she was in her 10s to early teens that the First Order kind of became a a player. But they show all that in the Resistance. I mean, for the most part, the First Order stays hidden, like it's full force Starkiller Base, and really Starkiller Base is its coming out party to the whole galaxy.
So here's the timeline as I can find it now. New Republic era is 5 ABY to 34 ABY, so almost 30 years, 29 years. First Order and the Resistance, 34 to 35 ABY, so the First Order was only around for a year, and then the new Jedi Order timeline starts 35 ABY.
That's what I'm saying. Like the First Order, we know already exists. They said it in The Mandalorian, but it didn't make itself fully known in its full War Machine until the sequel trilogy. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Good. Check. Real quick one here. I like this from League Extraordinary Sixers. Do you think Mon is a behind-the-scenes character? She stands there to listen, but then does her own spy game behind the scenes. We know this for a fact in Rogue One, right? She more or less in public's like, oh yeah, we can't do this. And then in the hallway, she's like, hey, can you maybe at least go talk to that Jedi friend of yours to bail? You know, she doesn't really commission anything, but you could tell she was more open to action than everyone else. So I think she probably still is that way, League, but as we saw, it doesn't matter. I don't think she can get really anyone to jump for her or do anything significant at this point in time, at least from a resource standpoint. Maybe send one or two fighters, but I don't think she would have the ability to send any sort of major resources here or Ahsoka's way. And that's my point. It's like they couldn't even send 2 or 3 X-Wings with them. Like it's the New Republic's that fucking strapped for cash and poor. They couldn't even send like Zeb in his X-Wing or Tiva or Wolf. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think too, when you're looking at the Andor timeline and the Rogue One timeline, like she had a network of spies that were essentially not really at her beck and call, but like she had a network of spies that she could reach out to. And it was almost that she was using them out of necessity because she couldn't act in good faith and she couldn't be as open with her intentions because of what was going on in the galaxy at that time. But it almost feels like now that the New Republic government has been established and she is the figurehead of it, or she is the head of it, not just the figurehead, she doesn't feel like she needs to be that subversive anymore. And I feel like she almost should be. She should still be that type of subversive spycraft type of person because the people around her are so unwilling. And maybe she is too. Like maybe she is truly just unwilling to accept the fact that there are still active threats out there that could topple this fledgling government.
Yeah, I am.
And it seems like, I don't know. It's hard.
Here's if Mon does anything, I could see her going to Hera and doing a very similar wink wink that she did to Bail Organa. Because we know for a fact from the trailers, at some point in time, Hera shows up in the Ghost. More than likely, and she even says a line in the trailer, once a rebel, always a rebel, which to me is implying Hera is probably going to break rank, not follow orders, and at least on her own, head out to help. Now, will Mon, like I said, behind the scenes be blessing that and kind of letting her know, like, hey, if you do this, we'll pretend like you're going to be in trouble, but you'll still be general, don't worry. I don't think we're going to see that. I think it is going to be Hera on her own, just being like, you know what, fuck it. I know they're in trouble. I trust my gut. I'm out of here. Outside of that, I don't see Mon doing anything, at least in Ahsoka, maybe in the Mandoverse movie, anything backhanded to the New Republic's form of government.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think that she spent so much time being a rebel agent and like working against the government when really, like even during her time in what was the Imperial Senate, like her desire was still to have a government that worked, right. And it was only because she was forced to that she did. The shit Luthen
does is not in her wheelhouse. Like all the spy shit you can see. I mean, and that's the beauty of how Tony shot it and how that it was acted. But anytime I'd see Mon on screen in Andor, I could see ulcers developing in her stomach. Like she just, this is not the life she wants to live, but she's a good person. She's feeling the call. She had access to resources. Here we are. But yeah, I think Hera will probably be going out on her own, and this isn't anything I've been told. This is pure speculation based on trailers and dialogue. All right, moving right along with our references breakdown. It was cool to hear Mon speak the name, but sure shit, one scene later, here he comes, and they kept his green hair. I know Lego tried to fuck us up there over the summer and gave him a little brown hair cap. Maybe that was a marketing trick, but sure enough, live action Jason. I thought he looked great. The kid did a good job. Green hair kind of works. I like that he's got his dad's pauldron on his arm, or at least an homage to it. It looks a little small, quite frankly, to be Kanan's, but same kind of style and logo. And obviously the first thing he asks his mom is like, hey, I want to be a Jedi. So I kind of dug the introduction of Jason in the live action, and I'll be fine if that's all we get. I don't think he needs to be much more. I guess it'd be fun if he sneaks on the ship with his mom. That would add some hijinks, but I'm okay with Jason just being that kid in that scene.
Yeah, it was it was all that we really needed from the character for sure. I wonder if they are going to try to follow up on his, maybe he has the same rebellious nature that Hera did, and he does try to sneak along on a mission or something like that. Or, the way that Hera said, when he said, I want to become a Jedi, Sabine's becoming a Jedi, I want to become a Jedi, there was kind of this, she didn't say it in a yeah sure son one day, there was definitely a little bit of mom
doesn't want son going down the path of dad, knowing what happened to dad and what happens to most Jedi. Yeah, I'm with you there. I could totally feel in parents, you get this where your kid comes to you and they're excited and they have this dream, and in the back of your head this probably ain't gonna fucking happen, but you're still oh yeah, good, yeah, okay. Sounds good, dude. Keep pretending that. Keep thinking about being a Jedi, because mom's going to say no when it comes to that time. Because mom has to say no, because somehow you're nowhere to be found. You're not ever talked about with Luke's temple, Ahsoka's, whatever. You're not in the sequel trilogy. So yeah, you got to just not do anything. So that's all we get of Jason there to make the narrative nice and streamlined. All right.
So we'll see if he goes anywhere. I do hope he shows up again, but I want it to be something a little bit more, a little bit more, maybe. No,
I'm with you. It'd be he's going to pop out of a floorboard in the middle of a space battle when it looks like the ship's going to blow up. He's like, "Hey, mom, I'm here. I snuck on the ship." It could be one of those, or I also could see just that's it. Like Jason just stays with them, and he's just a side character, and that's completely okay. There's everyone's favorite, Miss Shin. The reason we're looking at her is not to see if she's ever going to blink, but because she's wearing the same gold-plated, I do believe these were Jedi-specific, or at least Force user-specific headsets while they were piloting. And some of you prequel era fans might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe, when we saw Anakin with them, Obi-Wan with them, it does allow them to somewhat infuse their powers into how they control their ship. True or false, Nick?
I'm going to be honest. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I feel like a part of me is making that up, but I also do think there is some truth to that.
Yeah. So...
But there you go. Could definitely Easter egg reference. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up. And that all we got of Shin was piloting. And how about those ships? Major fucking World War II Corsair type of vibes, right? The bad guy ships.
Yeah, I know. I like the design of them. Clearly, their weaponry was relatively ineffective because while they did eventually do a little bit of damage to the T6, it took a while, and you could see that they were pelting this thing over and over and over again. And I know that ships the size of
shields are
the
awesome.
T6 do have shields, but man,
I will tell you, I will tell you, it
was like a
I will tell you, Ahsoka does specifically tell Sabine to just work the deflectors, so they at least got that out there. But yeah, I mean, you can never count on good guys for being great in a dogfight outside of Darth Vader. So, you know, that it is what it is. It's also like, I mean, at this point, turbo lasers essentially have like negative plot armor, right? Like turbo lasers in Star Wars can't hit shit and actually blow it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy because it's a laser, right?
Big fucking
and that's
laser.
What I was thinking when I was watching
turbo
this.
laser, man. It's like cannons.
It's a turbo laser. These things are used against, you know, capital ships. And these, I don't know how these things detonate, or like if there's like a timed detonation, because
it seems like they blow up right next to it, right?
Yeah, and it's like you would think like when a laser misses, it just keeps going. Like it's not going to explode because it didn't hit anything. And like, I don't know, is that
technically hitting the shield and it dissipates like that? Then you think?
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, I don't know how large the shield, like the force field, the shield field is around the ship, but like these things were blowing up and it wasn't even close to hitting the ship.
Nick, we actually have from the sequel trilogy, the TLJ, when turbo lasers hit the shield, that should make that noise, right? Like that rippling noise, like the from Phantom Menace, the fucking twing. So yeah, who knows? I mean, you bring up a point. It's like, are they trying to tell us they have laser flak cannons? Like they're exploding and then it's like shooting flak there. But yeah, it's like just turbo lasers are, unless you're shooting them at, like Nick said, a Star Destroyer size ship, they either completely miss because the ships are too small, or they hit it and do nothing but disable a ship.
Yeah, that was the only thing to me. I was like, this ship has been pelted beyond like anything that I've seen before in Star Wars. And it's just totally fine.
There was some debris, Nick. There was some debris when they were floating there. Come on.
Yeah, they get taken out for about 5 minutes. And it's not even like taken out.
Just
like
lost
the ship
power.
Is lost power, comes back totally fine, flies on, no problem. It was weird to watch that scene. Obviously, it was cool because all the dogfighting. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're not.
Like
it's
very well
Star
done,
Wars.
I mean, Luke Skywalker blew up a fucking Death Star with a fucking X-wing fighter.
With
so
one proton.
I mean,
torpedo.
It is what it is. I mean, good guys, they're very hard to kill in Star Wars. Very, very hard, unless they're named Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, it's like it is funny though. When you see like, oh man, this TIE fighter took one graze to the wing, done.
Yeah, see ya.
And then Ahsoka and Sabine are literally getting pelted from every direction, and they're like, "Shield's still at 10%. Yeah. We're good.
Well, they did, right, Nick? I mean, that was one of the things. The reason TIE fighter pilots were considered a little nuts is because they didn't have hyperdrive and they didn't have shields, so they were all speed and weapons. Hey, whatever. Hey, it's fun to poke fun at sci-fi. I've kept this comment up for a minute because I love it, coming from our boy Devin. He has a new word, and we will adopt it if we remember. Scintillating. I love it. Scintillating. It's beautiful. Okay, moving on with references here. We're almost through these. How about our boy spoke, right? And he said a word that we've heard dark side, or at least people we think could be dark side force users, say a lot to their masters, as you wish. I mean, that was as Vader as it gets. That's one of Vader's favorite things to say to his owner, Palpatine. So I did want to bring that up. We get them nice and clear this time. They look way bigger than I remember, but that's animation versus live action. But shit, those Purrgil are massive. As we saw our good guys kind of using their tentacles to hide and eventually get away. But they look good. I do like the live action space whales. They look pretty majestic.
Yeah, definitely a good representation.
And that was really all I picked up on in terms of egg/references. So if you're ready, we can get into some top moments here. Okay.
Yeah, let's kick it out.
Like I said earlier, I'm going to start with the opening scene there. It was a little slow, but I kind of like how methodical it was. But I really did, in my note that I wrote last Tuesday night, kind of digging the blinder training. And I think a lot of it is because it did borrow heavily from Luke with Obi-Wan from A New Hope. So, being an OT homer, I kind of got those vibes there. But as Nick was saying, it just Sabine felt better. Their interactions felt more like Star Wars. And I've always been a fan of, I don't know, I guess Jedi training, samurai training, how it's more about your mind versus your physical prowess. I love that Ahsoka was able to just kind of trip her up with one move and said, listen, hey, sure, channel that dark side for a quick burst of power and energy, but you will become off balance, and I can essentially take you out with a tap of your toe. So it was a great master apprentice thing. It had great vibes from, a similar moment to A New Hope. And it also kind of further fleshed out not only the past relationship between these two, but kind of the present and where things could be going between Sabine the apprentice and Ahsoka the master. So it was just an all-around good Star Wars-y type of scene. At least like Star Wars' kind of samurai side.
Yeah. I mean, I think that scenes like that are, necessary in training montages, or like when you're training Jedi, to really show them that being a Jedi is not about like what you see in front of you. And this is like a larger kind of lesson that they teach you too, is like, you really need to use the Force in every moment. It's not just like, oh, well, kick the Force in when I'm fighting, or use the Force when I'm thinking about something or trying to investigate something. It's really like embodying the Force and making sure that you are using it at every moment. So when something does arise that you may not be expecting, you're ready for it. So it was really good to see Ahsoka putting Sabine through those paces and trying to sharpen those skills, even though Sabine said, like, I just can't use the Force. She's like, I just can't use it. Like, I can't use it. I've tried. I can't use it. So not giving up on that aspect of her training is definitely important.
And everyone that's still bent on this concept of not being skilled in the Force and training in it, please, like, the clips of George have resurfaced. I mean, the guy himself, the fucking maker, has come out to say, like, listen, anyone can do it. Some people are more talented, like an Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor. Sabine just has zero talent for it, like zero natural knack for the Force. And, we all know she's eventually going to get there, but she's going to be her own type of Jedi. And that's kind of, I think even Ahsoka was hinting at that. And Hu Yang talking about, hey, she is a Mandalorian. This is going to be difficult. And there hasn't been many Jedi Mandalorians because of how they are and their race, their culture, how they're trained. But we'll get there. I think Sabine will be a very unique Force user Jedi, if we're going to go with that now. It seems they've drifted back to Jedi and Sith versus the unaligned that they're going with for this sequel era. But hey, who cares? It just, this whole moment felt very Star Wars-y, as did the episode. Like, the episode was like vintage Star Wars. You had a zany ass action scene, you had space battles, you had Jedi training and stoicism. It was nice. Okay, next top moment I had written down, we spoke about it a little bit here, but I wrote it down as Hera versus Xiono. And I really think Mary did a great job here of playing a character that has accomplished a ton in their career, should have a lot of pull in their organization, but is still beholden to a military system of checks and balances. Like, hey, even if you're a general, you still have someone you report to, and regardless of what you've been through and what you know and what you can do, you still have to follow orders. So you could kind of feel her seething underneath her skin, looking at them like, you fucking pussies. Like, I know I'm right. Just listen to me. I've been through this. You in particular, Xiono, you should have nothing to say to me because you didn't fight in the Rebel War. In fact, you sat around and waited to see who would become victorious so you could maintain your position and power. To me, it was a great scene to kind of establish Hera as the badass us longtime fans know her as for the noobs. It added some history to the character. It showed the kind of the quagmire that the New Republic leadership is, and how it's them, not the people on the spaceships fighting the little battles here and there that blew the dream of a new republic. So it was an all around good type of political Star Wars scene to me.
Yeah, and I mean, on the other side of that, saying that the people in power blew it. I mean, realistically, the only reason that this new republic government will probably last, or will last as long as it does, is because of actions like people like Hera and Sabine and Ahsoka and stuff like that. Essentially, like, because if Hera listens to orders here, this new republic government lasts a year and then it's over, and you get overrun, and then the Empire is back in power again. If it's not for people like Hera, Sabine, Ahsoka, the true and continuing rebels out there, this government falls before you get even close to the sequel timeline.
See, you know what I think would be there's a moment ripe for this series after this scene, which means we're never going to get it. And that moment should be one of our once, and it should be Hera ringing up Skywalker. Leia, that is, General Skywalker.
Yeah. General Skywalker. General Solo now. She's married.
and kind of laying it out and getting Leia's reaction, because we know it would be, fuck, those idiots. This is why I'm out. Like, we don't even know if Leia's been kicked out of the Senate at this point in time, because she too, like Hera, is, in their opinion, rebel rousing. I mean, she's the one going, listen, fuckers, even more than Hera. Like, listen, we can't just turn a blind eye to what we're hearing, to the remnant. We know they're out there. I don't give a shit if they don't have a Grand Admiral. We need to make sure we can protect our asses just in case. Yeah. And just like they treated Hera, we have to imagine that's how they're treating literally one of the main heroes of the rebellion, telling her to go fuck herself, to the point where they kick her out of any position of power and she has to start the goddamn resistance. Yeah. Nick was making a great point, Nick. Fuck the Heras of the world. If it weren't for Leia and the resistance, the First Order blows up probably Coruscant.
Yeah.
Before the New Republic even moves to the Hosnian system.
Yeah, they wrest power immediately. And it is kind of interesting to see how much of that they're going to cover in terms of, like, obviously we know that Star Wars content is going to be pulled back to a degree, but you have a lot of storytelling that you could do between this time, even like this time now and in the beginning of the sequel trilogy. So, like, really, how much are we going to see, what the rebels and the resistors of the world are doing to help keep the new Republic government in place as long as they can? Because realistically, we should see all of that take place before we get to the sequel trilogy. We should see the internal rise of the resistance. Yeah,
I mean, dude, you would think a moment where Princess Leia essentially gets kicked out of the new government would be something that has to be covered. I mean, that's a fairly big fucking narrative thread for this new era of storytelling. I mean, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their plans are now, given the development system and the development cycle that Disney is going to impose on Lucasfilm.
I can tell you for a fact, though, there was going to be a season 2 that guaranteed. Let's just say Fulcrum filled me in. Like there are plans for one, but who the fuck knows what's going to happen now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that's just pushing against any sort of series development right now with the strike, and then with the obvious financial troubles that are happening at Disney and stuff like that. So everything's kind of on a shorter leash. But if you did have an animated series, I always thought it would have been a great idea to have a Clone Wars style animated series that happens between, like the stuff that's going on right now all the way up until the sequel trilogy begins. And I know that Resistance was supposed to serve as sort of a bridge for that, but it didn't really do a great job.
It's literally taking place almost concurrently with the sequel trilogy. I mean, outside of, I think, the opening half of season 1. Oh, no, almost all season 1 of Resistance takes place just before TFA, and then you literally see Starkiller Base go off.
Yeah, you see the speech that Hux gave on Starkiller Base and stuff like that. I don't think that. I mean, the series was good for what it was, but I don't think it did a great job at like doing what Clone Wars did. And I think that there's still a lot of room
it started
to
way too
like,
close to the timeline. And I think what you're saying is we are owed, listen to us, entitled motherfuckers. We are going to be owed something because get this into your heads, my friends. And this is happening. Grand Admiral Thrawn comes back to our galaxy, right? We know this is going to happen, okay? You don't start this Ahsoka series just to fucking kill him off. Like, just prepare. This series, and I know we've said this, it's going to be very Empire Strikes Back-y when it's over. The good guys are not going to succeed. Take it to the bank. Otherwise, we don't need a Mandoverse movie, right? I'm not spoiling anything here.
Yeah.
So... with that knowledge, Nick, a guy like that comes back. How can you not cover how Princess Leia reacts to that, right? Like, is she already in the Resistance? Is it going to be her Resistance fighting Thrawn or the New Republic fighting Thrawn? Because her point will have already been proven when he returns. So how does she still get kicked out to the Resistance and they don't fold her back in? This is where things are going to get a little dicey with Dave trying to fill in some of these gaps. Because to me, that makes no sense. Like if Thrawn comes back and probably kicks some ass for a little bit, how do they then, in good faith, either don't bring Leia back into the fold or still keep her on the outside, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And it's, I don't know what juggling act they're trying to go through with how Leia is going to function. Obviously we know that Carrie's been gone for some time now. But have they decided that she can only exist as an animated character? Have they decided how, if she is going to exist in live action, how that is going to happen? Because I know that there's a lot of issue now with using AI algorithms to create voice replicas. There's a lot of issue now with using full CGI models of
we solved this, right?
People.
Get Billy. I mean, I'm sure Billy's voice is very similar, modulated a little bit, and then just strap her mom's face to her head. There we go.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's something that they'd be willing to do, I definitely hope that we get something like that. But I do think that there is still there probably is a lot of internal discussion and or debate around how do we approach Leia in these situations?
You're not wrong. And again, the shit we're spitting would be golden, which means it's not going to happen. Okay. So that's why you should watch the Star Wars Time Show every week here on YouTube or on podcast platforms, StarWarsTime.net. Really, I mean, we spin some interesting threads, and it makes sense. I find it hard to believe if a character like Princess Leia is going to be completely glossed over in this era. If you want to gloss over Luke and just have him keep popping in, fine, because that's what he was doing. He was a fucking out there trying to rebuild an order. He had no involvement with the fucking New Republic. Zero. His sister, on the other hand, did. Yeah. She was back in the Senate, eventually became disenfranchised, was either kicked out or left, and formed the Resistance. So, if we know Thrawn's coming back and he's coming to the known galaxy and he's going to fucking shake things up, how do they still not prepare for the First Order rise? Come on. Come on, Dave. Come on. You better fucking stick this landing because shit could get really fucking weird.
Yeah, and it's...
Oh, Thrawn came back. That's it. We got him. Now we know no one's ever going to come back. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, look, there's already weird decisions going on, on Dave Filoni's desk. The stuff that he's making decisions on and that he's actively implementing, and we'll get to one of them soon. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that shit.
Okay, moving on. Last top moment, and it could have been just the episode because the dogfight, I would have to time it, but I believe it was out of the 24 minute of content. I think the dogfight itself was it might have been 12. I think it might have been half the episode because this episode, it was 3 moments. It was the training, it was the New Republic scene, and then it was the space battle, I guess, for the landing. Yeah, but okay, there you go. But getting all that done in 24 minutes, you couldn't really dedicate much time to one scene, so the space battle got a ton. But it definitely it stood out. Like I said, I love that, and this had to be a nod to George and his love of World War II. I mean, George made the Red Tails movie. You know, those ships. It's like they didn't even try. They just said, take a World War II era, you know, Corsair and put some laser guns on it.
Exactly. It's like just paint it yellow. Give it the same
and
sounds
flip its
as
tail upside down. Like instead of the tail going up, flip it upside down because they're in space. It's like, all right.
Yeah, and then just laser.
But I'm
laser
down
guns,
with it. I like how Shin and Marrok kind of, they had gold ones, and then all the fodder, they had the different ones. But really, obviously, the standout in this scene, the Clone Wars vibes, I think we all mostly felt, is when Ahsoka, and you remember, Nick, we were like, why the hell is Ahsoka wearing that blue and white thing that almost looks like it's from the Grand Republic? Well, now we know. It was her fucking space suit, complete with, Togruta helmet to fit the tails and the extended head. But it was great. I mean, I love that they went here. You know, Ahsoka walking out in zero G, mag booting herself to her T6, doing aerials, chopping, starfighters' wings off, deflecting starfighter lasers. I mean, that's like, finally, okay, there's the badass motherfucker we know she is. There is the Padawan of the Skywalker.
Exactly. Like that's the moment where I was like, this is something that Ahsoka would do, and it's straight from Anakin. It's something that Anakin would have done. He did do it.
Too. Like I believe there's an episode where he's in a spacesuit out on a broken down fighter fighting like shit. So yeah. He's like deflecting like the laser bolts away and stuff like that. Yeah. So like this was that was the moment. Like this dog fighting scene, especially like after the ship gets like into some serious trouble, is really where 100%
I felt Ahsoka for the first time.
And I mean, that was pretty much the general consensus from all fans. You know what, dude, looking at this close up, I got to ask you, why do you think her head tails are going into breathing tubes almost? I
mean, I think it's just like the vacuum of space is going to.
Well, yeah, I understand they have to be covered, but why are they looped into like the breathing apparatus?
Yeah, I mean, in that instance, it might be because like there are like oxygen receptors.
Yeah,
or something,
that's like environmental receptors.
Can
she breathe through her stuff? I don't know.
And I think that is actually true for both Togrutas and Twi'leks, that they're. Like one of the things with Twi'leks is like if they're in like adverse environmental conditions, like specifically around like the atmospheric conditions, like if there's a lot of like, I guess it would like poisonous stuff in an environment, like their Leku can shrink or they'll like wither. So like I think they respond.
Hey, that's why I ask questions. But I just saw, I was like, listen, I understand you can't just have bare flesh out in the horrors of space, but why are they literally going right into what seems to be the breathing apparatus? Oh, well, it still looked cool. Who cares, right? I mean, who gives a shit? Yeah. It's the weird stuff good. I think about. So that was it, really. But I do have a few ha's. I want to see what Nick has to say here. You know what? I loved at the very end when Hu Yang came back to life and kind of started reporting out his scan, that they did confirm, and we knew this, but for the layman out there, that the Purrgil are 100% the reason for intergalactic hyperspace lanes. Like literally, the humans in our galaxy and potentially in the other one use their lanes that they already created to eventually get into interstellar and even galactic travel. So it was nice to kind of get, like, they are literally the reason people can travel between galaxies and within a galaxy in Star Wars. So it's nice to get that out there, because I still believe the good guys are going to have to use them to kind of take chase after the Eye of Sion.
I mean, it'll basically be like, how when you get on a highway and you get behind one of those big 18-wheelers, you can kind of draft behind them, and you don't have to use your own gas. You can just kind of get pulled along in their slipstream. That's probably what's going to happen with the Purrgil, is because there's no way that they're going to be able to have enough hyperspace juice in any any New Republic ship, any ship that is in the hands of a rebel character, like they're gonna have to.
Well, you're right. And again, Hu Yang explains that. I mean, they did a good job of really laying it out to people that aren't in the know. Like, no, listen, this ring is so big, it has so many hyperdrives because, as they say, you could go faster and further than anything we have in our galaxy with the Eye of Sion. So Nick's right. I do think it's going to be almost Purgil drifting for the good guys to kind of take chase. Anytime you get those lore check-ins and confirmations, it's nice. Because we were saying last week, like, listen, on Cetos, that site that this ancient civilization, not the Night Sisters, created, was all dedicated to the Purgil. I mean, as soon as that star map was lit up, you could see them rotating in one of the hollow circles. They're etched into the stone that's there, and they fucking... It could be essentially one of their home planets or one of their main stops on their intergalactic routes. Remember, intergalactic is between galaxies, not going from the core to the outer rim. All right, so they need these things to get to the path to Peridia. Okay, and the last one here. And this was just kind of random, but it kind of stuck with me. You know, we were talking about Balin last week, what his ultimate motivations are. He still clearly isn't just full, I just am bad to be bad. I mean, he feels bad about the idea of killing Ahsoka. But he said something to Shin. He's like, for some it's war, for some it's this, for others it's a power you couldn't even imagine. And I'm wondering, what could that be? Is that the Night Sisters that are there and how they use the Force? And I was starting to think, Nick, what if he, from Legends, you would think, again, the Jedi were taught these tales as kids. What if the power he is referring to is the world between worlds?
I mean, it could be. I think a lot of our assumptions around this show are definitely linked to the world between worlds, and obviously we have had essentially no mention of the world between worlds, nor any real reason to believe up to this point that the world between worlds will be accessed. Like, obviously we can speculate, and we have a good reason to speculate that the world between worlds will be used, but up to this point, pretty low key in terms of any world between worlds.
Absolutely nothing, and we have one of the few characters that has interacted with it in the show as the lead.
Yeah. So it would not surprise me that could have been something that was potentially, like a tall tale in young Jedi world, there's this power that you can access where you can change the past.
That's what I'm getting at.
And as as little as we know about Balin, we know two things. We know that he was a former Jedi who was formally trained during the time of the Grand Republic.
Fought in the Clone Wars.
And two, still has a soft spot in his heart for that time. Yeah. And for those that he knows from it, Ahsoka specifically. Like, he probably had rubbed elbows with Ahsoka potentially, or at least we know he knows
her master, right? Because they're probably going to talk about it tonight. Yeah. I think that's this moment we're going to get.
Yeah. So I mean, for him, he doesn't. This is what I'll say about Balin. Like you said, he does not seem like an evil person. Like he seems like somebody who is doing what he needs to do to make his way in the galaxy, and at this point, he can't choose whether it's good or bad. Usually bad people reach out to mercenaries. That's just how it goes. Typically, you're not going to get a phone call from Mon Mothma to be like, hey, Balin, I got some stuff for you to do. Like, it's just, those archetypes of characters are not the type of people to reach out for his services. So he's almost functioning in a world that is made available to him. And what is made available to him is the more nefarious side of the galaxy. But I do feel like if he had the opportunity to go back and stop Palpatine, I think he would do it.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like or something happened to him. Maybe it's a lover. Who knows? But yeah, I do feel like the power he's referring to would be the power to change his past. Something about it. And who knows? Like I said, I don't even know why. I mean, Balin was sadly barely in episode 3. He just at the end is like staring ominously out into the deep, knowing that, like, you can tell he's skilled. He knows that Ahsoka landed on the planet. He knows they got to go have a little fight. I'm not sure why he didn't just go fight himself, but hey, it's kind of what bad guys do. You always got to send the cannon fodder first, right?
But that's also like, that's some stuff. I think it's like, he's doing everything that he can to not have that
right
encounter.
He
like,
yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he's like, you guys go handle it, and he's like hoping. He's like, I hope that they just take care of it, and I don't have to do this, because I really do feel like when it comes
he doesn't want to kill her.
He doesn't want to
kill her.
Yeah, like when the showdown comes, it will definitely be a more reluctant showdown on the side of Balin than it will be on the side of Ahsoka. Let's run with this then.
We're essentially into our pregame at this point, people, if you haven't figured it out. So kind of hold on to that thought, Balin v. Ahsoka for the episode. But in terms of general how this episode's going to go, let's be real. They've already released a clip. If you've seen it, it's going to cover the kind of the hand-to-hand combat moments from the trailer when Sabine is full Mando using her gauntlet, this, that, and the other thing, kind of beating down some of those HKs and other random thugs. But I do think we are going to get into the Shin v. Sabine and the Marrok v. Ahsoka battles. And I will not be surprised if the Balin v. Ahsoka is what ends the episode, almost on a cliffhanger. Hear me out. I could almost see this first fight between these two going in Balin's favor. To where she...
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to kill her, obviously. But he may do something to her, wound her, if you will, to the point where it's close to near death, or she's like knocked out, to the point where he thinks she's dead. Does that make sense?
I could almost see it being like in Attack of the Clones, how Dooku quickly takes care of Kenobi before the one-on-one with Anakin, where he just like hits him in the arm, hits him in the leg, like definitely not anything that's like life-threatening, but it's like, you can't fight me now.
Yeah,
it's
I
over.
don't think it's going to be that easy, because Ahsoka's going to be way more skilled than Padawan Skywalker was, and not as headstrong. But I agree. I ultimately think Balin is going to come out on top without necessarily killing her.
Here's what I think is going to happen.
What if he force throws her off the cliff? Something like that.
No, I don't even think it's going to be that violent. I almost think it's going to be like, there is going to be a battle, but I think that it's like somebody's going to get injured, and it's going to be a small injury. And I think that really what's going to stop the battle is like, if we are right about this power that he is seeking being the world between worlds, this is the same power that Ahsoka's been seeking. So if that comes up, because we know they talk in their battle, like we've seen it in the previews and in the trailers that they're talking. So I could almost see it happening to where Ahsoka gets injured, but also realizes he has what I want, and almost stopping the battle of her own volition, and letting him escape, almost like you do in a video game or something like that, where you're like, if I let this guy escape, then I know that I can follow him to somewhere where he has something that I need.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a ton. I know generalizations. Like the generalization we know, and this isn't a spoiler, we talked about this, but Anakin should be showing up in episode 5. So next week. How do we get there? And it would make sense if Ahsoka is somewhat in trouble, maybe not fully conscious, or somehow the WBW is activated during their battle. I don't know. But they could get to the Anakin stuff via Ahsoka kind of being unconscious and taken out for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like as she's recovering or half dead is when she's kind of reliving some of these moments, maybe true flashbacks, if you will. And we're not going to see the one thing we've heard about, an alt timeline ROTS. But I feel like there's got to be some way to kick her into these reflective moments, because so far we've got zero reflection from Ahsoka. As you said, I mean, she's more or less arms crossed, seems pissed off. But having her kind of getting a little bit beat down, that could be a very easy way to kind of kick into reflection points.
Yeah, I mean, because up to this point too, like I'm sure that there is a bit of, I don't want to call it cockiness, but there is a bit of, self, like you're really feeling high if you're Ahsoka. I'll put it that way. Like, the Morgan Elsbeth stuff, like you handled her, like you put her down,
again
and it's
too.
not your
By the
fault
way,
that they got.
Diana came out and said that they have a pretty. Apparently, their fight in Mandalorian took them 17 hours to film. Their fight they're going to have in Ahsoka took multiple days, so it should be pretty wild. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. They are going to have another battle. So like, if you're Ahsoka, you're like, I put down this girl, and the New Republic fucked up, and she got away. Like, I helped put down Thrawn once, and I'll do it again. So, like, Ahsoka doesn't really have a reason to be down on herself. Like, she has a reason to distrust the government that's in place for sure. But, like, up to this point, especially, what has happened recently, like, towards the end of Rebels, and then obviously what we've seen in Mando timeline, like, she's on a fucking high. She's like, I set this fucking Yoda kid up with Luke Skywalker to go get trained, and while he made the decision to go back to the Mandalorians, that's not on me. That's a win for me. Like, I took out this Morgan Elsbeth lady, handed her over to the New Republic. That's a win for me, a loss for the New Republic because they fucked up. Like, I feel like until she does get beat down, she's really not going to like snap back into like this position of survival like she used to be. Yeah, listen, she was never a fully formed Jedi anything. She never graduated beyond Padawan. We know for a fact Baylan is. He at least made it tonight. And we've seen he's quite proficient in the discipline. So yeah, she could definitely go in underestimating him. And I guess the one benefit he has, he's not beholden to the light side as much as he used to. So if he wants to, he could start doing some shady shit that she would never consider in a fight. Using the Force to fight. That's why I don't know if people realize it, but maybe it's because they were robots. But the fact that Luke kind of came in Mandalorian and was using the Force to kill, that's very anti-Jedi. Am I not correct? Like, they're not really trained to do the fucking choke, the choke death like his dad taught him.
Yeah, like that's definitely something that's a little bit more. And the thing is like, I'm trying to like go back in my head and remember every like lightsaber battle where a Jedi was involved, and did they use the Force? Like did they use the Force in an offensive manner? Because that's always been like their tenet is like, do not use the Force. I mean, maybe like to push people away, I guess, at most, I think. Yeah. But they don't pick them up, hold them with the Force, and then crush body parts, is what I'm saying. It's not. Yeah. I mean, like, they don't even typically like throw stuff at their combatants. Right. Like you always see, like, obviously the first time we saw it was in episode 5 in ESB, like fucking Vader is just pelting shit at Luke the whole time. And we've seen it in the prequel trilogy too. In AOTC, Dooku crushes that fucking thing, almost drops it on to Kenobi. That's where Yoda has to stop the fight. We've seen a lot of like dark side users, but you've never really seen
Bats guy Obi-Wan. He did throw some motherfucking rocks at Vader, but I think we can make an exception for that because they're like best friends having they're getting together for the first time in a long time.
Definitely more passion came out in that fight for Kenobi.
I said that bad. I said I think the reason they got away with Luke doing it is because they were droids. But if they were real people, you'd be like, fuck, man. The Skywalker's taking the light side to a new level. And just go back to what Kenobi said to Luke in episode 4. I mean, he's like, he's more machine than man now. So he almost looks at Vader as like, yeah, there's still Anakin in there, but you are more of a machine than a man now. So like, I don't feel bad if I'm throwing shit. So the point is, again, to drive it home, Baylan could definitely beat Ahsoka in this episode, is what I was getting at, because he's more open to using the Force in combative ways, offensive ways than she ultimately will be. Dan the Man here. You know what? I've heard this too, and I'm not against this. I would like it. It would be nice for the narrative. But I've seen a lot of people saying that Baylan could have been Plo Koon's apprentice, and why that would be huge. Plo Koon is the one that picked up Ahsoka
really
from her planet, so that would be a nice. I'm with you there, Dan the Man. I could get behind that, but that usually means it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that's super deep cut, and it seems like. I mean, if the rumors are true of what we're hearing about Marrok, then I don't know if Filoni is choosing to go that deep. I'm just like, no, I don't have any other way to say it.
He ain't wrong.
Like I don't.
So yeah, here's what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow when you're watching. We already know we're getting Sabine in her armor and Ahsoka fighting some HKs and some of those mercs. All right, that's going to happen early on. They get sent to the ship. Then I think we're going to get our duels. We're going to get Sabine, Shin, Ahsoka, Marrok. There's a good chance Marrok is done after episode 4. Okay? Either we get the reveal and he's taken care of, or he's like, you know what? I ain't getting paid enough. I'm out of here. I think episode 4 ends with the talk and the duel that we've seen on the trailers between Baylan and Ahsoka. And I think Baylan wins this fight. And
I mean, that's typically.
And I think we leave episode 4, which has a decent runtime. I believe we're clocking like 38, 39 pure minutes of content, which is excellent. But I do think we leave in a like, is Ahsoka going to be okay type of feel? And we come in next week, and that's when she starts reminiscing about her past because she's in some form of. She's not fully conscious. She's pretty beat up, half dead. I don't know. I have a feeling things could get a little dire tonight for Our Lady in Orange.
Yeah. And I think it's, I mean, I want to see the extent of her injury. Like if there is an injury, I mean, obviously the battle has to stop in some way. Something has to stop it. And usually that is if one combatant is unable to continue. And we already know that Baylan doesn't want to kill her. So I think that if
gives
anything,
her a nice controlled stab, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It'll be another Sabine where it's like, I'm going to stab you off to the side.
How about this? What if that happens and Sabine shows up and heals it like Grogu?
Yeah, it's like, this is the
She's
first time
got power now, motherfucker! She's got dyad power!
And the thing is like we've seen this happen multiple times. Like you said, like Rey healed Kylo, like Rey stabs Kylo right through the fucking stomach.
It was a good shot. Definitely closer to center than what Sabine took, for sure.
Yeah, in Rise of Skywalker. And what does she do? She busts out the Jedi healing power to save him. I mean, and that was at a moment of dire need. And a lot of times, and this happens in a lot of different properties and stuff like that. In a moment of dire need, that's when your powers show the most.
You know what I'm doing? Calm down. Jesus Christ, man. It's nuts what kids start to turn into the older they get. My sweet little girl is more or less gone at this point. It's so bad. She now uses my love of Star Wars against me to hurt me. Like that's how evil things are getting and need corrected very quickly. It was fucked up. No, it was smart, and you lost iPad privileges for a few days because it was like complete mental assassin stuff. So like Ahsoka premiere week, I'm all excited. I like watching it now with the family on Wednesdays evenings. Why not? I thought we all used to like Star Wars. I mean, Christ, that's all my kid watched on her own. Like all she ever wanted to watch was Star Wars. So we're like, hey, we'll get down and do it before your bath. It's long. It's like an hour and a half, 6:30 to 8, and then you can get some iPad time after that. Everything was great, right? Until some parenting had to happen because, like most kids, my kid doesn't listen. Like to the point where I'm going to call her Beetlejuice. And if you're a Stern fan, you know who I'm talking about. You'll even remember this bit. But I shit you not, there are times when I go, hey, Charlie, repeat after me. 1, 2, 3. And she'll go, red. that's where we're at with listening. So I corrected her once that night, Nick. Okay, she didn't like that. Kids don't like being corrected. An hour later, a neighbor comes over and says, "Hey, Charlie, we're going to do this and then this." And Charlie goes, "Yeah, so we're going to do that and then that." And I was like, okay, I was like, "Charlie, fuck, man, come on. Like, we just talked about your listening." And right there, that was too much. She shuts down, sits on the steps. I'm like, "Hey, what's wrong, bub? Come on." It's like, I know I probably shouldn't have called you out in front of people, but you got to listen to me. I'm trying to help you. I want you to be the best human you can be. And she goes, "You know, I don't even want to watch AHSOKA anymore. I just want to go back to the original plan, take my bath now, and then get my iPad time. I don't even want to watch AHSOKA with you." I'm just like, "Oh, you little motherfucker. How dare you? Worst thing you can do is put Star Wars in between us and try to use that to get at me." Okay? So she learned. But I've had to cut her out of watching Star Wars because she has zero interest, even in a show that, let's be real, and I'm surprised I'm not hearing more from the neckbeards out there, that's all women. Like AHSOKA, if you haven't figured it out yet, and hopefully I'm not alerting the trolls and now they're going to be upset, but the show is,
oh my God,
is all women. And I'm like, my kid's going to love this. Nope. Last week, fucking paint her nails in the middle of it, goes upstairs for 10 minutes to get some fucking strawberries, comes back with like 5 minutes remaining. And it broke my heart. I'm like, my kid does not like Star Wars.
She's got to come
my
back
kid
to
does
it
not like
on her
fucking
own.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got to come to it on her own. But if you force her to watch it, she'll never come back to it.
It was rough though. It was like, God damn, stab me one more time, why don't you? So, yeah, there you go. But, okay, so there you go. That's what's going to happen on episode 4. You heard it here first. I'll be watching probably around 9:30 after I get through Foundation episode 2 because I love that shit. So if you're in our Discord, don't forget it's open. You can find the link on our Instagram account that is completely dead at this point in time, but it's all right. I still do content for it. But at StarWarsTime.show, check out that Discord link. I'll get in there and kind of give my early thoughts and spitball with anyone that wants to fan out. All right. So let's move on. Like I said, I told Nick earlier, I was like, "Nick, I got to be honest with you, man. For the first time since I've been doing like the Star Wars stuff, like I've achieved insider access with when I got in the video game media. I've never really achieved true insider access with Star Wars until last week. And like I said, found a new fulcrum. And this one is juicy. Because I was told things, showed things to confirm. I've seen things that I'm not allowed to talk about, and they're fucking killing me because I know they would pop huge. Like, we're talking making Star Wars level access, all right? But I'm not a dick. Fulcrum said, "Hey, sit tight on some of these big ones." So we will. But we do have 3, that's right, count them, 3 SWTS exclusives. One, I'm still classifying as a rumor because I just don't want to believe it. But the other, I'm definitely tanking to the bank because I may or may not have seen some things. So the first one we're going to talk about here is there are going to be, now I'm going to say spoilers, but this is stuff that we've talked about for over a year now. It's been out there. But just in case you want to be clean as possible, go ahead and spoil yourself out. All right? Here we go. So we actually talked about a Making Star Wars report, I think from December of 22, in which Jason mentioned that there's going to be a young AHSOKA in AHSOKA. Okay? I think some people were pegging one of the actresses from the House of Dragons in there. Our Fulcrum knows, but not going to tell. So I don't know who the young actress is going to be. Apparently it's someone with a big following on social media. But back then, Making Star Wars was only reporting that we were going to see a young AHSOKA the Gray, essentially the one we're seeing right now. And then, I forgot because I use this as a prediction, so it's technically cheating, AHSOKA the White. All right, so that report back in December listed 3 versions of AHSOKA we would witness. Young AHSOKA, like Clone Wars era, present day, and then the White from the epilogue. Well, according to our source, and from what I've seen, I can tell you that we're actually going to get 4 versions of Ahsoka before everything is all said and done. So the 4 we are going to get, and I'm excited for this. And remember, the young versions will be played by a different actress. I've been told the resemblance to Rosario is uncanny, but I've not been able to guess who it is. We're going to get Clone Wars era Ahsoka in the maroon, okay? Like her maroon garb, young Ahsoka before she quit the Order. We're going to get Ahsoka in her Siege of Mandalore garb. Okay, the blue even had like the Iron Heart on it from Mandalorian culture. I've actually seen. Yes, we're getting that. Okay, take it to the bank. We got the gray. We're seeing that right now. And we're going to get the white, which we predicted 2 weeks ago. So what I was saying earlier when I learned of the 2 young versions, I'm thinking, dude, the one, like the maroon, may be just like a memory, right?
Yeah, flashback or
where
something
the Siege
like
one, I think, will be the one that's going to be an alt take on Revenge of the Sith on Mustafar. I'm not going to go any further than that just to avoid getting into shit, okay? We already see her in the gray, and it seems by the end it's going to be the white. And the white looks spot on to what we saw in animated.
She will have gone full Gandalf.
Kind of what we were talking about today. And we know Ahsoka's going on a journey. We know she's super reserved and a bit off right now. But it is seeming, dude, through the events of this, she is going to learn something, go through some shit, possibly near death like we just talked about, and come out on the other side just like Gandalf as Ahsoka the White. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that has definitely like piqued my interest throughout like the lead up to this show, is kind of where her journey starts and ends and how her like progression goes through the entire series. I think right now, like you mentioned, we're still kind of sitting in like the gray phase. And really, I want to, potentially this fight with Balin and what information is to come from it may kind of kick her into her journey towards the Ahsoka.
I mean, especially because he's bringing up
for.
Anakin right before they fight, so that's going to be in her head. And if she loses, she's probably going to be reflecting on that shit.
Yeah. So, I am really interested to see how like her progression goes, because now, I mean, we're 3 episodes in. We have a very limited number left. So, her journey has to really kind of kick into high gear since it started so late. So, yeah, interested to see how that goes.
Like I said, listen, those of you in the chat, I love it. If you want to dive deeper into some of the moments, please check out the post. Go over to Making Star Wars. He kind of lays out what he's heard. I can just confirm to you, we're going to see 4 versions of Ahsoka versus the 3 he was reporting. So this is more of like an exclusive addendum to a report he had months ago. All right, that's like, we're not trying to steal thunder, nothing here. I mean, MSW has the greatest sources on the planet, no fucking doubt. But we may be getting close, and that's exciting. It's also dangerous for someone like me because I don't want to know too much, but I want to know enough that we get some pops. I'm not going to lie. And sadly, just like anything I do, these went almost nowhere, but that's okay. Because we get to talk about it today, and hey, maybe a new person will hear it, and then things will pop from here. But as I said in Discord, I really am getting to the level of how many times can I keep doing the same thing over and over again and really expect a different result? Like, isn't that the definition of insanity, Nick? Where you just do it over and over and over, and you just keep getting the same thing, but in your head you think something different's going to happen. Yeah, that's me on making Star Wars content and trying to become someone that people pay attention to. It ain't going to happen. It's fine. But there you go, 4 Ahsokas. So moving on to our next one, and again, this is an addendum to something Making Star Wars dropped earlier in the year. And again, if you want to go read his fuller breakdown, have at it. But we're still on the spoilers train, so be very careful. All right, so like I said, in January, MSW reported that Thrawn would essentially have a force of stormtroopers who were reforged by the Night Sisters. Wasn't clear if they were resurrected. Just said that they were going to be in what looked like broken but reforged armor. Remember, it was going to be in the style of Kylo Ren's helmet from The Rise of Skywalker, but gold inlays instead of red. Okay? Making Star Wars was mentioning that, you know, that you're going to have these stormtroopers in this cracked armor, and it was reforged by the Night Sisters. Wasn't so sure if they were going to be zombie, but from what I can tell you right now, based on Fulcrum here, all right, and Jason did speculate that they may be undead, but we're telling you now that, yeah, that's for real, all right? These are going to be zombie troopers, definitely resurrected by the Night Sisters in this galaxy they're all headed to. But our big thing is, not only are we going to see resurrected stormtroopers, but we're also going to get the boys in black, the Death Troopers. Now, it's not clear if they're also going to have like the gold inlays, because that would look pretty fucking rad, right? The black with the gold.
That would be.
But yeah, we were told that he's also going to have Death Troopers at his disposal. Now, I couldn't get, okay, how's this happening? Why are all these people dead? So in my post, this is moving on to speculation here. Dan the Man, I cannot confirm if he needs the undead to fight Abeloth. I cannot confirm that. But here's what I'll speculate and why he has a force of the undead. So if you remember back in Rebels, you know, Thrawn has a Chimera. The Chimera naturally is going to have a full contingent, right? It's going to have ground forces. It's going to have tanks, fucking AT-ATs maybe. It's going to be loaded, right? It's going to have a full army, a battalion, maybe multiple battalions. When the Purgils come, they essentially attack the ship.
Yeah, kill everybody.
They break the bridge, like they shatter the windows. They wrap Thrawn and Ezra in their tentacles and send them out into the far reaches of an unknown galaxy. So we've always asked, like, okay, how do Thrawn and Ezra survive that? I mean, come on. Who's to say that being wrapped in the Purgil tentacles doesn't give them some form of protection from these hyperspace routes, right?
Yeah, it's very possible.
They were the only ones wrapped. So as the ship is in tatters, it's been attacked by space whales, it's being dragged into zero G atmosphere, right? You could argue that everyone else on the ship is getting fucking crushed to death or destroyed or just, you know, pounded by the weight of not having a pressurized ship. So by the time they get there and drop them off, you know, maybe the shutters finally fell down, the emergency shutters, and Thrawn's literally left with maybe a few of his forces that weren't completely destroyed, but everyone died in the jump, essentially. And over time, he works with the Night Sisters of this galaxy, which I think the Night Sisters were from this galaxy. They came to ours and kind of set up shop on Arcana and Dathomir, but they're not from the Star Wars galaxy. You know what I mean?
The known Star Wars.
So that's pure speculation. All I can tell you for real is, yeah, Thrawn is going to have a force of undead troopers, both Storm and Death, and they were resurrected by the Night Sisters of this galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, I mean, it fits, you know, going, I mean, if you are going to go with the zombie trooper thing, the Night Sisters are the way to bring them back, because we've seen them do that in the past.
It was done in the Clone Wars when Dooku and Grievous come to genocide them. Old Daka, Talzeen, they literally raise motherfucking spirits from the dead to fight. I mean, if you have Swago, one of the tunes is a Night Sister spirit. It's literally a Night Sister spirit.
Yeah, it's like you can run a full Night Sister team with Talzeen and Daka, and what Daka does is just resurrects characters.
Literally a Night Sister zombie just keeps coming back and back and back and back.
Yeah, just so.
But it is kind of intriguing to think, and knowing who Thrawn is, we've talked about this. He would befriend. He would look for allies in a new space, and I really am like these Force sisters probably aren't, you know, as disbanded as they were in this galaxy. I really do think this was their home galaxy. And the reason,
so you're walking onto
exactly.
their turf now.
And we've heard from people like Jason saying, like, listen, the Force in this new galaxy is different. It is more Night Sister-esque. It is more arcane, mystical, magical.
Yeah, I think that, like, I am intrigued by that because it seems interesting to me that power has never been further explored after it was initially, like, introduced to the galaxy.
They were all killed.
Wars.
It was, I mean, Marin technically is, and I guess Morgan at this point were the only survivors of the genocide.
Yeah. But it just seems so weird that, like, in a galaxy where everybody is constantly looking for power, especially Palpatine during his reign, like, how did this motherfucker never go like, hey, yeah, I have a power that I can control and that I've mastered, but there is another power out there that has that can go beyond what I've done.
Well, hey, dude, maybe that's, like, the power Balin wants, the power to resurrect. I don't know, but yeah, I think you're on to something. Through these tales of the path to Peridia, people in our galaxy have heard about this mystical shit, yet they never really took it for anything but a tale. Kind of like we look at our legends, like, which were all at one point in time based on real history. But throughout time, just like Morgan said, things become, fantastical. The victor can always change the narrative, right? I mean, that's something that's in all of storytelling, if even in real life. I mean, whoever wins, they get to write the fucking story. That's just how it goes. Real life or fake. Dan's asking, what about the Purgo? Were those meant to be the same? No, I think those weren't the three that took them out, but I do think SWTS is either a home planet of theirs, a breeding planet, or one of the main locations that they will migrate to throughout the year, because they literally just kind of hang out in that atmosphere. The planet clearly has a connection to their intergalactic hyperspace routes, or why would that ancient civilization build that structure there to essentially find the path to Peridia?
Yeah, I mean, from what we know of Purgils, like, Purgils need, like, if you remember from Rebels, they need, like, they feed off of gas giant planets, like that like gas filled atmosphere helps to power their ability. That makes sense.
There's a lot of fucking clouds on
into
SWTS,
hyperspace.
So.
Yeah, so, like, I don't, like, potentially the atmosphere, the atmospheric conditions over SWTS may have, like, whatever minerals or like gas they need to be able to power their ability to do hyperspace travel.
Yeah, it seems that they like to fester around the SWTS planet more than any other in the known galaxy. So yeah, there you go. Check for some undead death troopers. I know. I mean, wasn't there technically in Legends the death troopers, which truly were zombie stormtroopers?
Yeah, like, there was a book that was called
Death Trooper. Yeah,
Death
but
Troopers.
it was the white stormtroopers, and they were truly zombies. Like, they were truly zombies, and it was like there was a derelict. Can't remember if it was just a regular Star Destroyer or if it was a Super Star Destroyer. There was a derelict Star Destroyer out in space, and this is, like, I think this is during the time of the rebellion. I don't think it was after the Empire had fallen. But, like, some, like, light-sided either Rebels or New Republic characters go out to investigate this marooned Star Destroyer, and it is completely infested with zombie stormtroopers, like white, like official stormtroopers under Palpatine. It doesn't sound like we're going to get, like, brains and they're going to be, tripping and I mean, it sounds like they're functional. How they may even be more functional after getting a little, green juice injected into their systems. So they're going to be different than what you expect, but it does sound like these are going to be, that's why I call them uncanny forces. So, all right. Well, for the sake of time, let's keep moving on with our last one here. And like I said, even though Fulcrum relayed this to us, I just personally am still having a hard time. So to save a little potential public shaming, I just ran with a rumor, even though even doing that, people were kicking my teeth in here. And it's because no one actually listens to my thoughts. They just read the title and think I'm some jerk off. Like, if you'd actually watch my videos, I can tell you that there's a lot of thought to them and a lot of very intriguing thought and shit that makes sense. So here we go. Again, if you don't want to hear anything, tune out for a little bit. Running this as a rumor, even though I'm told this is going to happen, and to prepare for disappointment. But, you know, all season long, well, hell, all summer long, ever since we saw Marrok, we've been like, oh, who the fuck could this guy be? Because they're not just going to bring in some schmo, right? There's got to be some connections to past lore. You know, we've since day one, I did a video in July, Barris, Dark Ezra, Starkiller, an Inquisitor. All right, well, then we learned that it is an Inquisitor. All right, Disney told us, Marrok. He was an Inquisitor during the Imperial era and has now become a mercenary. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. That could just still be smokescreen. There really shouldn't be any Inquisitors left. We saw the 8th brother die, didn't we? He fell off the cliff, right? Right? Even though it was animation, we didn't see a body, he's got to be gone. And besides, he has fucking 4 fingers versus 5. Marrok.
I was saying, like, he's a very much an alien.
Yeah, I mean,
Marrok,
he's called like it's something like a Torelli Django jumper. Because yes, I looked this type of stuff up.
Yes.
And I did see his species can have 5 digits. All right, they can. But he did not, at least in Rebels. So I don't. Maybe they can grow them like fucking lizards. Who knows? But here we go, people. Marrok is not going to be Barris. It's not going to be Dark Ezra, clearly. I mean, we eliminated that one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Starkiller, even though I'm pretty sure that was Sam doing the As You Wish and the few lines we got this week from Marrok, or last week. It is, in unbelievable fashion, going to be just simply the 8th brother. It really is. Yeah, that's what I've been told. I don't want to believe it. That's why I'm running as a rumor. The fucking hand thing has my head all jacked up. But I was like, you know what? I sometimes you got to take a risk in life, and in the end, who's really going to know if we were wrong anyways? No one pays attention, so we pretty much can scream anything into the void, and for the most part, we're just going to embarrass ourselves in front of maybe, 50 to 100 people. So that's okay. That's why I ran with it. I'm like all of you. I think it's dumb. It makes no sense with the hand thing. Like, literally, you have to show me that he has like a cybernetic hand, or somehow he grew another finger for this to check out.
Yeah.
But this is what I've been told, coming from the source that, kind of filled me in on stuff that I can tell you 100% is legit. So take it for what it is. And I will, on this podcast, I did in the article, because I even called him out last week. I said, listen, I love my man Devin. I love him. But the fact that he's saying that Marrok is going to be the 8th brother is just simply wrong because of the finger issue. And I still can't get over that, but I'm just saying, be prepared for Marrok to be revealed as the 8th brother and pretty much have no other impact on this story or Ahsoka's past, present, or future.
It's shit, straight up. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It is one of the most questionable decisions that I've seen Filoni make up to this point, because it makes no sense timeline wise. It makes no sense in terms of the character, like the previous character arc that we've seen for the 8th brother, and it makes no sense aesthetically either. It's stupid. It is a decision that was made. I don't know how it was made. I don't know why it was made, because there were so many.
Well, let's hope it's still not going to happen, right? I'm still holding out hope. Okay.
Let's fucking cross our fingers.
Things
that it
can
happen.
change between concept, shoot, and final production. You never know.
Yeah. So like I would have even preferred the Starkiller, just pure fan service, because at least it's something. Like, at least if it's Starkiller, then you're paying some sort of fan service. I don't even consider the 8th brother as fan service, because nobody gave a fuck about
he was in I think it was in maybe an episode and a half. It was in like a 3. That.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? Like a 2 or 3 episode arc, if that. Like,
it was all gives a fuck about I'm pretty sure he's all contained within the Malachor arc with Maul.
Yeah, the Malachor 5 arc, and that was it. And like, I don't see what you gain out of having this character in there. If anything, it just brings up the questions like we just brought up. Like, why is an Inquisitor who's supposed to be dead for at least 10 years now in this show?
Well, you didn't see his body, so they can always get away with that. But like
I mean, yeah, we do know that if you fall down anything in Star Wars, you are 100%
even
alive.
if you get vaporized and then your body blows up in a planet size or a moon size explosion, you still live.
Still live.
It's the hand that just completely fucks my face. Like I can't get over that. That's like such a glaring difference.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's just bad. I don't know how else to put it. Like there were opportunities to make this character something that would be intriguing, but instead you just make it a throwaway.
I mean, really, if you think about it and where the show is going, there's no room for it to be anything but a throwaway. You know what I mean? Like, why are they going to spend time like revisiting a character from her past when they're clearly driving towards Thrawn and Ezra?
But I think that one thing that is very clear from the first 3 episodes of this show is that while Sabine has a lot of growth to undergo, so does Ahsoka. Ahsoka's got a lot of growth.
She should be coming out as the White, and we know that's the final form of all demigods.
Yeah. And like, what better way to address character growth than to confront something from one's past, especially something from one's past that caused great harm.
Barriss was the only answer for this.
Yeah, I mean, it was the easy win. And I don't know if Filoni forgot that Barriss is a character and that the thread was never closed, or what happened. Like, I truly don't know.
There is, you're not alone. There is a contingent of Star Wars fans that are literally just sitting there like, Barriss, anyone? Barriss? Is this ever going to be resolved? Barriss? You even showed her supposed crest in The Mandalorian. Like, come on.
I just don't understand when you have this opportunity. And the thing is like Ahsoka is Dave's character, and he should be well versed in all aspects of this character. So for him to be like, it's the 8th brother and we're either going to murder him or he's just going to go away and that's it. Why have him as a featured extra?
Just because he looked cool and will sell action figures.
Yeah, it's like, oh look, he's got cool armor. And
I
now
really think
this character
it's purely a visual decision at this point, Nick. And I'm with you. Hey,
I mean, it's
just a rumor, right? Just a rumor.
Yeah.
But if it is true, then it's an exclusive. That's how we work over here. I'll change the fucking post title.
Change the title. But yeah, I mean, it's an extreme disappointment. But is how I'll put it.
We knew it. We said it would be, right. I mean, we've even today we do this every week, people. Nick and I write great Star Wars that should happen, and sometimes we convince ourselves that it is going to happen because it makes the most sense. And every time it doesn't happen. So I'm finally to the point where any great idea we have, that just means it's never going to happen. So,
I mean, and it's kind of sad because I really want to believe that like Filoni has like plans, or like, oh, this will come up later, or he's got an idea for this that'll come up in a different series. At this point, I don't believe that anymore. I really
Nick,
don't.
He knows what Star Wars is. Star Wars is always about the through lines and the parallels. And yet this was such an easy through line to just kind of zip right in there. And he's like, fuck it.
Yeah. And what I don't get either is like, I could have even bought what you were pitching last week when you're like, but if it's Starkiller, then you have this
I was going to bring that up.
Light apprentice versus dark apprentice.
Again,
type of situation.
A decent little narrative, but no, that's too easy.
There is this is literally no narrative. There is no narrative.
It's to have a bad guy in black armor, just to have a bad guy in black armor. Ultimately, I guess at least he talked and wasn't just fully mute the entire time. But and for that to be Witwer,
And for them to
hold on.
literally
Let me tell
in
you
a
something here.
series-
Apparently, I saw this twice, but some people are saying that they thought they heard Maul during the Underground Temple, so maybe that's why he's getting credits. But I never heard that.
Okay.
I don't know. You would think they would list Sam as the voice of Marrok. He still is just being listed as additional voice work, so they may be right, and it could just be that Paul Darnell stunt guy that's doing it with a modulator. So who knows? But yeah, it's a bummer.
I mean,
it's but not totally unexpected, right?
It's not a series killer. Obviously, it's not like, well, this guy's not, a character that feeds into the narrative, so everything is a loss. But it is.
I liked how you came into
it is.
Hey, where is everybody? Mom, Dad, I'm home, right? That's all right. I love you. But yeah, she's got her little Princess Nisa. If you're a SWTS player, you know that this is going to be a very important tune to collect for the General Leia Galactic Legend event. How's that? We can always tie stuff back to Star Wars here.
It has a string.
Yep, I know. It's a nice little toy. They saw it. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in.
It's Layla. Is its name?
Oh yeah, Layla. I'm sorry, you named it Layla. I will not use its proper name. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. A little check in there. She does, I guess, like it every once in a while, but not that much. So yeah, here we go. Prepare to be let down, and honestly, it could happen tonight. I have a strong feeling because I do think Ahsoka is going to cut through him before she gets to Baylan. It just makes sense based on what we've seen in the trailers.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way because like you see her and Marrok in the forest together, and then in the same trailer, you see Ahsoka fighting Baylan at the site, like at the ritual site.
I really do think the episode ends with their duel. Not Marrok, but Baylan and Ahsoka. I am sticking to that. All right, Carlos, I don't want to leave you hanging here. Hugh, what do you think about Episode 3 Anakin, WBW, and Episode 5? I think it's going to happen, okay? Too many reports. It's the longest episode. It's Dave's second directed episode.
Yeah.
100%. It will happen. I'm excited for it. It's still not clear if it's going to be fully WBW or, like I said, maybe Ahsoka is unconscious for a reason and she's kind of flipping through things. But based on the report from MSW, if you want to go read all that, it very well is going to be that. And it's more or less showing her, no matter what you would have tried to done, you have always meant to be where you are at, is kind of the lesson she needs to learn here. Is that she can't change shit. She is destined to do what she's doing.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
I think it's going to look cool as fuck if done right. It's going to be Ahsoka in her blues, the siege, and some shit going down that we've all seen happen in a different manner in Revenge of the Sith.
Very cool.
Okay,
Very cool.
Let's keep moving on here. This last one comes from Bespin Bulletin, although this is one, Nick, we should have just ran as an exclusive because I don't really think it takes even a source
been saying it
to figure this out. But Bespin Bulletin is reporting via their sources that Star Wars Skeleton Crew is now going to be delayed to 2024, which no shit. I mean, come on. The strike has killed everything. If you were not able to get your shit out and promo done before the strike, it's getting delayed. Dune punted. All right? Skeleton Crew punted. The problem with Skeleton Crew, because it is a TV show, that is now going to start a chain reaction of delays. So the Acolyte's going to be delayed. Mandalorian Season 4 going to be delayed. Ahsoka Season 2, if they give it the money, going to be delayed. They're talking here, Nick, in Bespin Bulletin, that they don't even know now when Skeleton Crew may air in 24, and it's completely contingent on the strike. Because Skeleton Crew, for the most part, what we know, should have been airing November, December this year. It's in the can. It's done. They promoted it Celebration. They had a little fucking trailer action. They did their EW interviews, Jude and all them. But because theirs was further out, they didn't get to do the full promo blast. Delayed. Yep. So, as I teased earlier, Nick and I went from this time last year thinking like, holy shit, from now until maybe the movies come out, we're only going to have a few months of downtime for SWTS to find bullshit to talk about. Now, Skeleton Crew could very may well not even debut until this time next year at this point, which means new Star Wars. Like, everyone's got to get that in their head. This is it. These, maybe September, we think, maybe through October, Nick, we'll still get some new content across streaming platforms, but outside of that, it is over.
Yeah, everything is finished. There is
Andor.
No more
Doty's right.
content that's
Andor
being
delayed
produced.
now too.
Oh yeah, Andor. Yeah, Andor. Andor got shut down before they were finished filming.
Yeah,
like
so you're not even going to see Andor now until 25 or maybe 26.
Yeah, that's probably 25. And it's like, it sucks for us as fans, but like, I'm not going to sit there and say like, end the strike so I can get more Star Wars, because that's just going to hurt the future of filmmaking
right.
and
you know what the sad thing is?
Every way.
The studios have already won the public perception battle. Most people are like, they only think that Hollywood is George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Gwyneth Paltrow, people that really don't need the work. They don't realize it's literally like people like you living in a fucking trailer in LA making $26,000 a year, working 80 hours a week and not being able to live. Like they have a stat. It's something like 98% of SAG members can't even afford SAG. They don't even qualify for insurance because they're not making over $26,000.
Yeah, 98% of the industry.
That's why they're also striking against artificial intelligence, which is going to impact every fucking industry, not just Hollywood. So quit watching mainstream news and shit. Do a little research. You'll realize that these people striking, for the most part, they're not the fucking 1%. They're not the elite. They're the Matt and Nicks. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you can even go and look, and like these elite, like the elite actors are also like, look, this isn't for me, like Tom Cruise is not striking.
Tom Cruise
himself.
hasn't needed to work in
Cruise,
probably 20, 30 years. Let's be real.
Yeah. Like
he truly loves the industry. I mean, he's a little goofy with the Scientology, but the guy is
fucking crazy.
He is a consummate professional.
Yeah. And he's a lover of the art form, but like he's out there and he's striking for, the TV regulars, not the TV stars, the TV regulars that don't even make enough money in a year to get health insurance or to be able to afford their own home. Like, that's what it's about. So, I mean, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's definitely going to be shitty when, the content dries up and all that.
You and I, we might finally have to start our reality series where every week in between the show, we film our lives and put it out there.
Yeah.
It'd be like Nick playing Baldur's Gate, and I'll have a broken bone playing something or sitting out on my deck, drinking beer, smoking trees. It does blow, man. And I know we'll definitely fill we will fill the time. There's no doubt about it. But it sucks to know that we're probably, after Ahsoka's over, we're looking at close to another year before we get some new Star Wars to talk about, and that blows.
What's wild too? I don't know if the order has come down yet, but SAG is contemplating a strike against video games too.
Yep.
Like they are in active discussions.
Didn't some
around
VFX artists finally form a guild or a union?
They unionized. Yeah, they unionized at I can't remember what it was. But yeah, there was a VFX union that was just formed. Like a big VFX house just formed a union.
That's what it takes.
All
right.
So we'll see. We'll see how long this goes.
Star Wars novels, discussions, comics. Yeah, sure. We'll my dumb ass. I still look at the image-based Star Wars books, so the comic books, but real books, fat chance.
Yeah.
At this point, I'd rather read Foundation just to see all the ideas George lifted from Isaac for Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll have to start reading the books again. I mean, I have my books unpacked now. Y'all could see them back there in the background, so I'll have to dig into those High Republic novels. I'm trying to think. It could potentially be
uncharted territory, because for the most part, even when I think from 2005 to 2008, we pretty much had nothing. Outside the outside of the Clone Wars movie in 2008.
The Clone Wars movie, and that was it, and that kicked off the Clone Wars TV series. But yeah, I mean, but you got to figure too, though, like there were 3 years between prequel movie releases, 99, 02,
well, I mean,
05.
people like you and I, we can probably get used to that life. Some of these motherfuckers have grown up where Star Wars is a yearly thing that they can kind of bank on. Where like a multi-time per year thing with a TV show or something like that. It's not going to be like back
that.
To the dark times.
Like, I mean, you better hope that there is a Star Wars video game that drops.
Oh fuck! Well, we are going to get one in March, but like you said, if things start crossing over into their territory, that may be delayed now too, because Star Wars Outlaw is supposed to be March next year.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I would hope that they have a lot of their voice work done. And the thing about the video game strike is that only applies to SAG members. A lot of people who only do voiceover work are not necessarily SAG members. They're like voice acting contractors. So I'm not 100% sure if that'll put like a screeching halt to video game development, but it will affect a lot of the people who are in SAG that also do video game work or voiceover work will be affected by
It's weird. I hate to keep bringing up Foundation, but I feel like we're approaching the first crisis of that Harry Seldon predicted through psychohistory. And in that world, there's supposed to be 3 crises for the Foundation they have to face. Otherwise, humanity essentially goes into the Dark Ages. And I think right now, the strikes in Hollywood are the first crisis of our own. Will we survive it, or will we head into the dark ages of entertainment?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, Nick, it's time for the fan segment. We're going to do this one quick. And thankfully, our fans aren't very engaged with the question of the week. So that's not going to take long at all. It's like, we've been completely killed on Instagram. It's over. Like even we had that nice little quick bump when they killed our big account. But since we've rebranded as Star Wars Time Dash-O, 0 reach. Like maybe 50 people total. So there's been low interaction on our question of the week, but we still do it every week. We're going to ask our fans a question, and then we will talk about the responses during the SWTS fan segment, a weekly staple of the SWTS. So let me go ahead and get some screens switched up here real quick. Bring up the old Slackadoodle. Since we're in season, it's very easy, and usually this generates responses, but not the last 2 weeks. This week in particular was horrendous. Maybe I should ask the question Wednesday morning or Thursday when it's still fresh in people's minds. Who knows? But here we go. What is your favorite or least favorite moment from Ahsoka Episode 3, the one with the space battle? And there were so few responses, we could just do the good old full copy and paste, Nick, so let her rip.
Let her rip. First up is Lima 4 photos. We can always count on Lima. He's our guy. He says, I've been busy and I'm still catching up with both Ahsoka and SWTS episodes. I'm jumping in anyway. I'm going to say that my favorite part is the one where the SWTS bros hit on their predictions and speculations.
Sabine's a Jedi.
I'm sure there's something in there.
Thank you.
We've got some hits already. We're not even halfway through the series yet, and we got some hits.
Ahsoka the White's going to pay off, so keep them coming. Thank you, Lima. We love you.
Of course. Scion XTC, another long time and loyal fan, says, gotta agree with 2797 Studios with this episode having TCW feel and look. The space battle just had me smiling, and I couldn't get over how much the Shin and her cruise ships reminded me of old WW2 fighter planes. Yeah, I mean,
agreed.
Hit on that on the show for sure. Good stuff there. Panda Boca says, seeing Ahsoka slice the wing off an enemy fighter mid-space flip was pretty rad. Also, the music has continued to be top notch. So
I got to point out Panda Boca right here. This is a quality human, okay? This person, I don't know from shit. They reached out to me 2 weeks ago. I kind of had a rough opening, especially if you listen to the audio only. And that's how Panda, he actually said, hey, audio only listener here. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm not going to go into it. Let's just say they reached out and offered me,
words of encouragement.
And I appreciate that type of stuff. So thank you. That's typically not things you're going to get on social media. So there are some decent humans left in this world, and they listen to the Star Wars Time Show. So there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good to have quality.
I agree. It was nice. Nothing they had to do.
And then the last one here, 2797 Studios. I know I'm in the minority here, but I enjoyed this episode. Length didn't bother me. Had a TCW feel to it, right down to the cheesy spacesuit.
See, there you go. It was cheesy. Tentacles in the breathing apparatus. I knew it. Thanks, Bat, for confirming my own thoughts. There you go. Usually it's more fun when we have more comments, but such is life. If you want to participate, I might be changing the day up. Who knows? Maybe I probably should drop it Wednesday morning. And
maybe people need more time.
I'll pin it to the profile so maybe we can generate some more stuff. But I honestly think we are as muted as it gets on IG, and that's okay. At this point, it's not worth trying to build what we used to. I've had people come and be like, hey, how come you're not featuring like you used to? I really liked your page that way. And it's like, well, I did too.
It's like, that's how
I did too, but since
banned.
They won't tell us why we got fucking deleted, I can only go off someone reported us for stealing content. So there you are. That's why you get dumbass pickaxes in our grid and, watch the fucking video. I'm sorry. It ain't our choice.
Yeah.
We got whacked. This one will probably get whacked at some point in time. And part of me hopes it does, because I think that'll be my out finally. Just get back to doing the goddamn show. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's transition over into our final segment, the second segment of the fan segment, and that is our top 5 Star Wars fan artists features of the week. We still do that, and we pull those from our tagged section. So make sure to add tag at StarWarsTime.show.
Right. Nick
on
ain't
your
fucking
Instagram
around.
posts.
He's not looking for your stuff. You have to
tagged only,
give it
baby.
to him.
Tagged only, baby. And we have some big accounts out there that are tagging us, so make sure to do that. Add tag at Star Wars Time Show. Use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show in your long list of hashtags that you surely use on your posts, because that's what everybody does.
Add tag the best though. Add tag. Add tag. All right, let him rip. Who'd you pick?
To kick off this week's top 5, we have at Talon _ Illustrations. Talon Illustrations is always in the ad tags, and I love to see it. And one of the reasons I love to see it is because he's a fantastic illustrator. And what we have here is I believe this is is this like a expanded?
So here's
a Clone Wars character, or is this just like a completely custom character that Talon has?
So here's what I think Talon does a lot. They take commissions from the community of people that have built their armor or have thought of characters, and then he creates them.
Okay, so this is like...
This one he's calling at Extinct Dragon CT7322, nicknamed Basilisk.
Mm-hmm. And it is what's excellent about this illustration is it's not only an illustration of a clone trooper that has full clone armor with a almost like a neon green like type of accent color to it. And you can look on it and you can see its fantastic dragon illustration across the chest plate. You can see dragon scales along the arm guards and pauldrons. And he also has a BD unit droid BD up there that is on his back. So just like a fully custom job here from Talon Illustrations for a member of their community. And is really just one of the coolest looking troopers that I've ever seen in illustration before. So, well, he's got that very interesting helmet, right, Nick? It's not, it's almost like a scout trooper helmet, but in the Clone Wars vein. Yeah, I was going to say with like a Clone Wars type of flair to it. No, it's a great illustration, hence the name at Talon Illustrations. Like Nick said, high quality stuff, and they do take commissions. TalonCommissions at gmail.com. So if you out there have a Star Wars character that you've either cooked up in your own mind or something that you would like to see done through illustration, reach out to Talon, and I'm sure he can hook you up with a deal to make your vision come to life. So there we go. At Talon _ Illustrations on Instagram. Next up, we have Star Wars _ Rick. Star Wars Rick has always been tagging and known to be on the top fives here. And he's made it again with really probably the thing that really kicked it all off for all of us here as Star Wars fans. And it is a recreation of the moment that Darth Vader steps foot onto the Tantive 4 at the beginning of A New Hope, that really just kind of put Vader's presence into all of our lives for the first time. And Star Wars Rick did a fantastic job of recreating this. Excellent work.
Yeah, I mean, it's Vader. It's any shot of Vader is always a win. And Star Wars Rick, like I said, I believe they've recently been picked up and featured in a big geek publication. So it's always awesome when we see people from the community getting a more, broad appeal, general audience, and not just Star Wars time show. So excellent work there,
yeah.
Star Wars Rick.
Good stuff. Next up, this is Pop Toy Photos with another scene recreation. This one from ESB, as our boy Luke Skywalker, Commander Luke Skywalker, is following his grappling hook up onto the underside of the AT-AT that is storming towards Echo Base on Hoth, has his lightsaber ignited, getting ready to do the old chop and throw to take this one out. This is a fantastic job. It looks like he probably did Digirama for the AT-AT.
He did, but it's a great blending, especially because Nick, one leg is like in the foreground, and he's like that. He somehow, at least to me, has achieved a 3D feel because it feels like Luke is hanging from its
in front
underbelly,
of the leg,
even though it's a 2D image serving as the background. So. It's an impressive use of the digi technique, 100%. Let's be real. Empire, they could restore the living shit out of it. It still is going to look like a movie from 1980. So the fact that there's Pop Toy Photos was able to layer that into this toy photography shot and kind of make it feel 3D is very impressive use of their props and knowledge with a camera.
Absolutely. So excellent work there at Pop Toy Photos on Instagram. Next up is at My Father Django. And can you guess what the image is of? His father, Django. It is a shot of our clone progenitor, Django Fett. And it's it's just a straight up clean shot of Django. He's got his little visor or his finder down in front of his visor, a rainy setting, and some good weathering work done here on the figure as well from My Father Django. And it's just a clean portrait style shot here of Django Fett. And
that's the sideshow guy. And when I see shots like this, I'm like, damn it, I should get him. I mean, Django, the poor guy, he never sold out. He's still sitting up there from Hot Toys. I just missed the Labor Day sale. I could have saved 25%. So I guess it's good. But yeah, I mean, I hate to admit it, but like Django Fett and the armor, it all has grown on me over the years. Even though it's Boba Fett's digs. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I like the chrome look mashed in with the kind of the purple and blues.
Yeah, it's a very clean
look. It is a nice set of fucking Mando armor. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, good stuff. So at My Father Django, give them a follow on the IG. One of the few toy photographers too that I've seen that is fully what is it called? Fully blue check marked on Instagram.
Well, I mean, these days it's as long as you put a picture of your face and pay the fee, you can do that. Yeah.
Oh, you can pay.
We could do it to ours, but one of us would have to put our fat heads on the profile pic. Yeah. So.
Okay, so you have to have a real picture. Gotcha. Okay, well, good to know. And then to close out the top 5 for this week, this is at Umbra Toy Photos. And what we see here from at Umbra Toy Photos is, one, they give us a good behind the scenes look at this shot, but the shot itself is of a Sabak game gone wrong.
I feel like some arms are going to be ripped off, right?
Yeah, there are some arms about to be ripped off. So what we see here is actually quite a few of our heroes. So we see Han and Chewie, obviously, but we also see R2-D2 and C-3PO there in the background. And Chewie has knocked over the Sabak table, has 2 stormtroopers fully picked up in his arms, getting ready to just absolutely crush these guys. Han has already drawn his blaster and is looking to shoot some people down. The modal nodes in the background have no idea if they should keep playing music or if they should stop and evacuate as soon as possible. It is a pure scene of chaos here as Han and Chewie are now about to completely wreck these stormtroopers that are in this bar and have now ended this Sabbath game. I mean, listen, in a very fun manner.
They missed the biggest rule of playing Sabacc with a Wookiee, and that's let the Wookiee win. Okay, let the Wookiee win, because they clearly did not, and now they're going to pay dearly with their lives. I will say, Umbra Toy Photos, I'm surprised doesn't have an even massive or an even larger following, because they ever since we discovered them, or they started tagging us, really do create some of the most detailed scenes in toy photography, like layered scenes.
Truly dynamic.
I mean, a really solid account. I believe they also release, photo books that you can get on Amazon, and it would be worth a look, because I'm trying to pull up their account. But yeah, I mean, it's well thought out. That one scenes.
Pin shot that they have of like the mirrored pin shot that they have.
Oh yeah.
Of Vader and Anakin, like on two sides. It's just so cool. Like a lot of their work, and like what I'll say about it is like their work is like dynamic and fun. Like it,
like look at this. Look at this. The shot. I think 501 and the 222nd or the 221. I mean, just the very dynamic scenes. It's almost reminiscent of who the fuck was that person that used to like us and was really good at this? Oh, Papa Palpatine.
Oh, yeah, the original Triple P before Press Pause.
Papa Palpatine.
Papa Palpatine.
Well, it's funny you bring up Press Pause. He's now started a Star Wars podcast, so I'm sure that'll be bigger than ours in like a month. I've been looking at some of the clips they put out. They're great. It's like, why do we suck at everything? It's like, why do we fucking suck at I'm already more engaged in Press Pause's Beyond the Dune Sea podcast than our own, because he's got like a fucking camera crew, like cutting to him when he's talking, cutting to his co-host, wide shots. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
So now we know why he doesn't join us anymore on Tuesdays.
Yeah. There is a lot of dynamic stuff that you can do with podcasts
that we just don't.
Videography, but you also have to have somebody that does that though too. You have to have it's so much. It's hard to do it when you're like doing the show actively. So like having somebody off to the side
I'm like,
that does your.
I can't tell you how many people have started podcasts after Nick and I that. They're actually they compelling, and they actually have real followings. And I have a feeling that Press Pause is going to be the next one. It's like, Matt, that's another goddamn sign. Just quit.
Good.
Listen, I'm not bitching. I'm like, damn it, I know he's going to kick our ass now too. All right, let's fucking put her to bed, buddy. I gotta get the hell out of here. That is it.
That is the end of the top 5. That's the end of our show for this
week.
Thank you all for tuning in.
I'm Eeyore of Star Wars fan podcasters here. It's like, well, Nick, another Star Wars fan podcast gonna take away from ours.
I'll tell you this right now. Nobody's making money doing Star Wars podcasts because there's not enough people out there in the world that care about Star Wars for anybody.
Theory's the only one, and maybe a few others that actually have a career because of their YouTube following. But yeah, you're correct. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, go look at all of the other. Go look at Bestman Bulletin's got his coffee page where he asks for people to donate.
At least we're not begging, right? At least we're not fucking begging. You got that, right?
Oh, hey.
Anyways, as Nick said, it's time to put 276 to bed. If you're on wherever you're at, you've got what do we got? Hour and 15 minutes before AHSOKA S1E3. Let's get some. Will she get taken out by Baylan? Does Baylan win and maim her? Is that what kicks her into these visions? Nobody ever will know until tonight. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? You'll never know. Make sure to check out AHSOKA tonight, and then tune into our Discord right after to see if any of us are shooting the shit. Because to me, That's the best part about being a Star Wars fan, is when you have other fans to sit there and talk about the fake universe and what we just saw within it. Okay, you can get that link in our Instagram at StarWarsTime.show. That's for our open access Discord. Otherwise, we need you to visit StarWarsTime.net as often as you can, even though we barely update the site. That doesn't matter. It's not the content. It's the information you can get on StarWarsTime.net, such as how to subscribe to the podcast. That's right. We take what we do on Tuesdays here on YouTube and make it audio only for those that don't like YouTube or driving and watching YouTube at the same time. You can listen to us. So StarWarsTime.net, sub to a podcast platform, even if you just like watching YouTube. And vice versa. If you just like the audio, get on the YouTube. If you're sitting here right now, let's like this motherfucker. Anything we should clip, let us know in Discord. I haven't put out a clip in a while because I've been kind of upping my content game with AHSOKA breakdowns and exclusives that no one cares about because they're coming from Star Wars Time Show. You little bitches. StarWarsTime.net. There's always time for Star Wars Time. And don't forget, if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you always.